Hey, everybody. It took a minute for us to get on, but here we are. Let me see. We have Tony Man with waiting with bated breath for this awesome duo to start. Oh, did I take that down too soon? I don't know if you were reading it.
Oh, no, no, I can see it also on the side. So,
Oh, okay. Let me see. This made me laugh. It's like Scarlet Witch and Jean Grey combined.
oh, that's the best compliment.
Yeah, that's really awesome. I got a giggle out of that, like in a good way. Yeah, and yeah, they both had the telekinesis as well. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Then of course, Trash Picture Show was saying, "Take your time." Tony says, "Marty, your team is 0-1 in the World Cup. Come on, man. I'm rooting for Ireland." But yeah, let me see. This week I didn't have time to like read the book. I just listened to the audiobook. So
Mm-hmm.
partial cheat, but I still got that taken care of.
Mm-hmm. I have to
Um,
admit, I did not reread the book, but it's still kind of fresh in my memory because the last time I did read the book was sometime last year, so it hasn't been like years and years since I've read it.
okay, see, for me it has been. I didn't read the book. I read the book first when I was in fifth grade, which
Mm-hmm.
is like right about that time when girls experience that change.
Yes, I wish I would have read the book in fifth grade. I think the first Stephen King book I read was Pet Cemetery, and I was in,
Oh,
in
okay.
sixth grade. And then I think I read it right after that, which was really cool because the children in the book were about the same age I was reading it. And
Oh,
then
wow.
I reread it when I was in my earlier 40s. And so I took a whole different perspective reading it the second time because now I was reading it from the perspective of the kids when they were adults. It was really cool experience and how it captured both. Like that's just phenomenal writing to be able to capture the feelings of middle school kids and then also at the same time capture the feelings of people entering midlife. It's
Yeah.
just yeah.
I mean, Stephen King is awesome. He
Mhm.
really does know how to like just hit those notes. And I mean, I don't know any other author that has been able to pull that off, but he does it extremely well.
Mhm. I'm still impressed at his ability to write Carrie in the voice of a teenage girl, and it really
Hmm.
feels like you're reading the thoughts of a teenage girl.
Yeah, it does. I went back and I was listening to that audiobook. I don't know if audiobooks are considered cheating.
I don't consider it cheating
Yeah, I
because
just
think
wanted
about it.
to.
What if you were visually impaired? You would still be considered reading it.
Hmm. Well, just because the fact that I've read it before, and then it's kind of like this time I was like, I don't like speed reading because I don't enjoy it.
Hmm.
I'll just use the audiobook. Yeah, I mean, I can speed read. I'm not crazy about it.
Yeah, same.
Let me say, Master of Fear says, "Hey."
Hey.
And then Tony Mann says, "First book I read was Cujo, then I read Christine as a kid. I've always wanted a St. Bernard and a 58 Plymouth Fury. That would be an awesome combination. Just put your Bernard in the car."
Mhm. You'd need a Plymouth Fury to fit a Saint Bernard in the car.
Yeah, but it would be awesome to see, though. Yeah, I think first Stephen King book I read all the way through was Pet Cemetery. That was in sixth grade. No, I'm fibbing. I also read Christine in the sixth grade. So speaking of Christine, um, but yeah, so I think everybody pretty much knows the plot of this. It's super classic film. But I know the first time I watched this, yeah, I was about that same age also, and that's probably why I wanted to read the book. I caught it on a local TV station, when they play like the older films at night.
Mhm.
Yeah, and so I had watched Carrie that way for the first time. I mean, obviously, that young, I have no concept of how old the film is or who the writer is or any of that. But for the longest time, I just thought Carrie was a witch, and that's probably influenced by Margaret, who keeps yelling that at her.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't understand the concept of what is telekinesis. They explain it in the book, which helps a ton because I know at least in back in the day, people needed things to be explained in order to really understand, okay, this is the scary part of this thing. Whereas nowadays, we really don't have to. We just jump right in.
Mhm. Although I think things should be explained, I think sometimes newer movies, when they take those shortcuts, it kind of takes away from the story. I think it's nice to have um, exposition when it's written smartly, when it's not written in a way that makes the audience feel like you're insulting their intelligence. Because
Yeah.
there's a it's a delicate balance.
hmm No, I'll agree with that. But um, like, for example, werewolf films, it's kind of like, how many times do you have to tell me the full moon causes the changes? I'm
Oh
sure
yeah.
everybody knows that.
Hmm.
So, I mean, in like some genres, I think they just kind of overdo it.
Oh yeah. That can be done with showing. Like you could just
hmm
literally just cut away to the moon and then the change, and then people will infer, oh yeah, that's right, they changed in on the full moon, rather than have a character have to say it.
Yeah, I mean, like, just do your job, direct the film. Don't direct it like the author wrote your film,
Hmm.
which I have seen sometimes, and I'm not too crazy about it. Let me see. Hello, I was looking forward to this.
Hi, Twiley.
Well, hello. First time meeting you.
Mhm.
Okay, and let's see. Master of Fear. I like the mystery of Carrie's powers in the movie. Like, you don't know if they're supernatural or if she truly is just opening her mind, like in a sci fi way.
Hmm.
Yeah, see, and that's interesting to me too. And I'm sure the film at least kind of hints at it, but the fact that she's gone through all this trauma and then the change of her period, she's become a woman, and now her telekinesis resurfaces.
Hmm. And
Um,
the book does go into it a little bit, because there's certain things that her mother says that alludes to the fact that her father had those abilities.
yeah, they
And I'm
do.
wondering, you know how a lot of Stephen King's books are within like the same shared universe? There's
hmm
certain things I noticed when reading Carrie that also reminded me of Firestarter.
Yeah, they both, and I think that King did a lot of those similar themes in his early career. There was Carrie, there was Danny from The Shining,
Hmm.
and then of course Firestarter. And I want to say there was one more. I'm not remembering.
There's a character in Doctor Sleep. I forget her name though.
Oh, okay, I haven't read that one.
Mhm. That's the sequel to The Shining, and
hmm
it's mostly about Danny helping this character who's also a child that has the same. It's almost like Danny has become the character that helped him when he was a little boy in The Shining.
hmm Oh, okay. Yeah, it's just I'm not familiar. I didn't read the book. I didn't watch the movie, so I've got a blind spot right there.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's I don't know. It's like he seemed to really like those. I don't want to say psychic themes, but I don't know. They're not psychic. They're not supernatural. I'm not sure what to call them. But it seems like he really enjoyed those early in his career.
No, 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 Marty, not Rose the Hat. Rose the Hat is the villain in
Oh, let me skip
Doctor
real
Sleep.
quick. Okay.
But she does have those same powers, kind of. Well, she's more of. I mean, it's been a long time, so I might misspeak, but I felt like Rose the Hat was more of a psychic vampire.
Yeah, I can see that, and which is a real thing, by the way.
Hmm.
And then Tony says, when I saw Carrie as a kid, I thought, here's a girl with ESP that got bullied and paid the bullies back. I wanted so badly to have ESP because I was bullied like that, but I turned out level headed.
Hmm.
I think a lot of us, who I guess have been ostracized, we feel like, hey, It's like, when did they get their comeuppance? It's like, you know, these shitheads totally
Mhm.
get away with everything. They do whatever they want. The whole thing about coal in your stocking is bullshit. Their parents still buy them whatever it is that they had been on their wish list.
Mhm.
I don't know, maybe I went a little too far with that one.
No, not at all, because I'm about to go far. I want to talk about the opening sequence with Carrie,
Okay.
and because that sequence, well, for anyone who is not familiar with the story, I'll just recount it just a little bit. Um, Trigger warning for anyone who feels, because you never know, there might be someone watching us right now that's currently experiencing this. They might be still in middle school, still in high school.
Yeah.
So, take care in your feelings. If you feel like our conversation is making you feel um too intense, it's okay to check out and come back. I'll never ignore how you're feeling. So I just want you guys to know that. And also that it does get better. So what you're experiencing right now might be some bullshit, but it will get better. I promise you will get better. But we are going to talk about bullying. We are going to talk about some topics that might be a little bit triggering. So I just wanted to let you guys know that. So back to what I was about to say about the whole period sequence thing. I really related to that because I went through something similar, and it's not through any fault of my family. I think it's just I'm different from them a little bit because my mother didn't, get hers until she was probably like 13 or 14. My grandmother said she didn't get hers till she was 17. So at the time when mine came, no one told me that this was going to happen because I was in 6th grade. They
Yeah.
were probably thinking, "Oh, we have a couple years before we have to talk to her about that." But no, I thought I was gonna die because nobody told me. I just was bleeding and I thought I was gonna freaking die. So I could really relate to that scene of her not knowing what the hell is going on because no one told her. And then what's funny is like 8 months later is when they did the whole classroom thing where they take the girls in one classroom and the boys in another classroom. They talk to us about, oh, you're going to go through these changes. And I'm like, bitch, you're too late. I could have used that information 10 months ago.
So I'm like, shoot, I wish health class had talked to us about it. I just went in blind. My mom didn't say squat. School didn't say squat.
Hmm.
And then it happens. And I just remember it's like, it's this thing that just happens in intervals. Like it stops, it starts. It's like, what
Hmm.
is it? Like, what's going on? And, you know, it's like eventually my mom figures out what's going on. Like, I keep going to the bathroom, I keep changing underpants.
Hmm.
And eventually she figures it out. And she's like, you know, in my mind, it's kind of hard to not use this voice because it's the way I felt. But it's like, well, I thought they were going to tell you at school about it.
Hmm.
And I'm like, really, dude?
Yeah, with my mother, she was too embarrassed to talk to me about it. She doesn't. She's very I guess the stereotype of the Connecticut stiff upper lip type of person. And she was too embarrassed to talk to me about it. My father had to talk to me about it, and him being the scientific person that he is, literally drew on a notepad fallopian tubes and
Oh,
talked
okay.
about the monthly cycle and like very, very clinical and scientific. This is what's going to happen. And then but he didn't tell about the cramps or any of the like the secondary issues that come
Oh,
with it,
yeah.
just the scientific stuff.
Yeah. And I had to find this out on my own also. It was years before I would learn, don't drink any coffee, don't drink any caffeine because things will hurt more.
Mm.
I'm like, I could have used that information 20 years ago.
Hmm. Or that Midol and Pamprin are things, and they work or something.
Yeah.
They were steady giving me Tylenol, and I'm like, this is not working.
No, I was raised on herbal teas, so I went that route. I didn't know what Pamprin or any of that stuff was until college, and I would just hear people talking about it, and I'm like, I
Hmm.
just drink this tea.
Yeah, I sorry about that. I did see when I go to the Asian grocery store, they
Mhm.
have a PMS tea. Like it literally says
Yes.
PMS tea.
Or in my culture, we drink chamomile,
Yeah, yep.
and that
I've heard
helps
of
with
that
it.
too. And
Let's see.
Can I talk a little bit more about the book? Oh, well, actually, let's check the
Yeah, I was
chat
going to
before we
pop
continue.
this one
Sorry.
up really quick. Did we read this one? I don't remember if I've read Carrie. I know I've read some of Stephen King's books, but I can't recall if I read Carrie like I might have, but I just can't remember.
Hmm.
Well, there's also been so many versions of the film out. It almost
Yes.
seems like you've read the book because they make little changes, but they include things that other movies left out.
Hmm.
Um, let me see.
The one thing that all the Carrie movies do leave out are the doctors, and I think that's why I make that connection with Firestarter, because
Hmm.
in Firestarter they make the doctors that are doing the experiments and the interviews a large part of the movie, but in the Carrie franchise they pretty
Mm-mm.
much don't even include them. But when you read the book is told in past tense because Carrie is kind of recounting these things to the doctors that are working with her that are um, low key. They frame it as though they're interviewing her as a mental
Yeah.
patient, but they're low key doing experiments to see if what she's able to do is real and how can they harness it and that type of thing. So that's why I kind of compare it to Firestarter. But in the movie versions, they always leave out the doctors and they just leave the her backstory, which is a very interesting story. But I would love to see. You could
Mm-hmm.
even do it as a series because I feel like it would fare better as a limited series, like something with 8 episodes to retell the whole thing. But that's just my opinion.
Earlier in the 2000s, that's what they had tried to do. The one with Angela Bettis, that was meant to be a pilot film for the series, and it never
Oh,
got picked up
I didn't
because
know
at the
that.
end of that one, Carrie is rescued and she makes it out of the town alive.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's what they were trying to go for, and it's just unfortunately it didn't get the green light. So now it's just the movie pilot that we have,
Hmm.
which good enough for me at least. Um, but when I first saw Carrie, I thought her powers were the Force. LOL. That's a way of seeing it. Yeah,
Hmm.
I
I
never
like
thought
that.
about it that way.
I also like your avatar, Master of Fear. It's really cute. I don't know if it's from a series, but it's super cute. I like that.
It looks like a lady Spider Man. I
Yeah.
don't know the character's name.
Hmm.
Oh, I think I skipped someone. Yeah, she ate off children's energy. Oh, do you, the young girl, Abra? It's kind of hinted in the book. She's Danny's half sister.
Ah, see, I didn't pick up on that. I see. I definitely have to reread it.
It would make sense because
Hmm.
Ralph White, they eventually divorced and he went off to another family. So it makes sense that he would have kids,
Hmm.
other kids out there. Yeah. Okay. See, I haven't made it to that one, so I wasn't sure. I noticed that two more recently that her powers reminded me of the Force from Star Wars.
Hmm.
Hmm. Oh yeah, and Twiley had said it's their first time in the chat. So, hello, thank you
Welcome.
for stopping by. Let me see. I remember my first nocturnal emission and cried because I thought it was broken. LOL.
Oh, that's gotta be traumatic.
Yeah. Well, girls get them too. Don't feel bad. They're just different on the female angle.
Yes.
Okay. You don't like talking about that. I understand.
I feel like everything is crooked today. Like my necklace looks crooked, my shirt looks crooked. I don't know what's going on with me today. Okay.
Let me see. Yeah, especially the remake because she uses her arms like someone's using the force, and it's actually one of my biggest problems with the remake because I like it when she's just standing there and not in control.
Hmm.
Yeah, in the original film, they just would do a sound effect and then something would happen. So
Yeah, and they
yeah,
would
I can
show
see that. Yeah.
the actress's face, which Another interesting thought about the book versus the movie, that I also related to in the book, was in the book, Carrie has curly hair. She has curly brown hair and she's a little bit overweight and she has acne. And
Mm-hmm.
there was talk when they were first casting Carrie that Sissy Spacek was too pretty to play Carrie. But I think she really captured that otherness,
Mm-hmm.
to where she's really like the way she conducts herself. Um, it makes the other kids kind of view her as an other, mostly because of how her mother raised her. Her mother almost raised her in a way that you would assume that this woman would homeschool her, being that she's that religious, but
He
she didn't
should.
homeschool her, is the most interesting thing. But I think Sissy Spacek really, I think she knocked it out of the park.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, she did a really great job. And I mean, on the opposite end, like, not that I'm trying to shame anybody, but Sissy Spacek is extremely thin.
Yes.
So that can also work in the film's favor. Like, well, you're not just weird, like, as a person in general, but
Hmm.
you're thinner than normal, Carrie.
Yeah. Oh, and that's something you can be bullied for too. There was a time in high school where I was called chicken legs because I was very thin. I just was. I played volleyball. I ran track. Alternating years, I played on a tennis team. Like freshman year and senior year, I played tennis, but sophomore and junior, I ran track. And we typically are thinner. It's just the
Okay.
way our body types were and
Yeah,
still are. Like you look at track runners now, they're still fairly thin.
yeah. I mean, everyone has a different metabolism,
Hmm.
but doesn't mean to say you're not healthy.
At all. And I just so happened to be in high school when Sir Mix-a-Lot started singing about big butts.
Oh,
And if you didn't, and back then, if you
that
didn't
didn't
have
help.
one, you kind of got teased for not having a big butt. So
But there used to be a time when people would get teased for having a big butt.
yes, yes, it's such a mind warp. Like this is a parallel comparison to that. When I was in elementary school, there was some, and this is one of the reasons why I really also identify with the Craft movie, where I grew up in rural Connecticut, and although a lot of people from my small town would love to think they're suburban, you're not. It's rural. We walked past a cornfield to high school. It's not suburban. It's rural. Um,
If you're
and
walking through the cornfields, don't take your
yeah,
time. Quick
and
pace.
I remember when I started elementary school, there was only like two of us that were non-white, and probably by the time I got to fifth grade, there was three or four in the whole school. And there was a time where kids would stretch their lips out or push their nose down and say, "Oh, this is what you look like," or the I'm not going to do it because it's super problematic, but the stretching the eye thing and
Oh
and
yeah.
saying you're chinky eye, that type of shit. They did that, and fast forward to 2023, and people are getting injections in their lips and having
Butt
surgery to get
lips.
what they call fox eyes, which is basically an almond shaped Asiatic eye.
Yeah.
And it blows my mind that like we went through years and the same thing could apply to people that had butts before it suddenly became in fashion to have a butt. Like it's a mind fuck.
It's one of those things that cycles. Like, it's in this year, it's out that year, and it's like, whatever. Your butt's yours.
Hmm.
It's like, it's yours. Be proud of it.
Hmm.
Okay, you don't like people butt hating. Calm down.
Oh, to finish my thought, because I know some people are probably I have these what I call, well, what they are, they're ADHD thought passages. And
Hmm.
sometimes I forget to fill in the blanks for how I got from point A to point B and why I mentioned the craft. I mentioned the craft because of the scene in the locker room when the blonde girl's like, oh, it's one of her nappy hairs.
Oh
And
yeah.
sometimes we don't talk, I mean, when we talk about bullying, we talk about body shaming, but a lot of times we don't talk about racialized bullying that happens in the US, where it's
Hmm.
these not just aggressions that happen to people of color from other groups of people. And sometimes it's amongst people of color, because I have seen, a black person say something fucked up to an Asian person. I've seen, an
Hmm.
Asian person say something fucked up to a Latino person. It's just kind of an unfortunate thing that hopefully we can stop doing, because it does affect people's self-esteem, especially if they are the minority in a situation. Like you might say, something. say like an Asian joke, and if say you're in LA and there's like mad Asian people there, it might not affect that person as much as it affects the kid that's in Nebraska and they're the only Asian kid in the class, and they got to hear the jokes from um Pretty in Pink Long Duck Dong for like 10 years after the movie. Like that's
Oh Lord.
it's these things really affect people.
No, absolutely. I agree with that. Yeah. But just really quick, just jumping backtrack really quick.
Hmm.
Carrie's the main reason why I didn't want to take gym in high school. I'm like, I don't want to deal with showering with other girls.
Oh yes, same. I'm so glad we didn't have to have a one huge communal shower in my high school. Oh my gosh. I might have dropped out of school. I did not want to do that, especially already with the thin thing. And a lot of times with being thin also comes not having an ample bosom. And oddly enough, the girls will bully you about being flat chested even more than the boys. And it's like, are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah, I mean, women can be vicious.
Hmm.
I mean, and it's weird. Like I agree with what a lot of people say. In an ideal world, women would support each other instead of
Hmm.
tearing each other down. But yeah, so that's not wanting to shower in after gym, so that I took ROTC instead. So
Hmm.
I opted to wear a uniform and learn how to march,
Oh, wow. That's I
which
hear
wasn't bad.
ROTC is pretty tough though. So you're a tough lady.
Well, I stuck it out all 3 years, and
Mhm.
that's even more off topic. That's the even funnier part is I know a fellow classmate was trying to take lead of the class because our peers are the ones who lead the classes each period,
Mhm.
and it hadn't been decided yet. So he was trying to step into that and see if he could keep that. And he went around asking everybody, "Are you coming back to ROTC next year?" And I had said no. And just kind of offended. He's like, "Well, why aren't you coming back to ROTC next year?" And me and a girl next to me, we just kind of giggled, and she says, "Because she's graduating."
Mhm.
So in other words, no, I'm not coming back
Yeah.
because I'm graduating.
Mhm.
But I mean, he decided to stick his foot in it.
Mhm.
Um, okay, let me see. I think we left off here. Have you seen the cute fan comic Jason and Carrie? Carrie is bullied in school field trip, and she ends up resurrecting Jason via
Oh,
Part Friday the 13th, Part 7. They start dating, and Jason takes her to prom. That's cute.
that makes perfect sense though, because in I want to say it's Friday the 13th Part 7. It's
Uh-huh.
when there's a character, I think her name is Kristen, and she has telekinesis and she fights
Yeah,
Jason.
and I think that probably might have been a Carrie ripoff thing, but
Oh yeah. Oh,
I love
that's it was originally a conceptual script. Well, they actually it's kind of a long story. That was originally the first Freddy versus Jason script, but
Oh,
then it got caught into production hell. So then they thought, well, what if we did Carrie versus Jason? And then they couldn't get the rights to do that. So then they
mhm.
just kind of retconned it. That's why there's certain scenes where she's downstairs and you see the boiler room in a Friday the 13th movie because that scene was written as part of the Freddy versus Jason version of the script.
Okay. Yeah, I first heard about that in '95, the Freddy versus Jason, and it
Hmm.
didn't finally happen until the early 2000s.
Yeah, we first heard about it in Jason Goes to Hell. Um, yeah, the final Friday. At the very end, there's a stinger where Jason's mask is on the ground. I
Mhm.
talk about this at like
Oh,
every
yeah,
few months
Jason Goes
because I
to
love it
Hell.
so much. And the glove comes. That's why I have the my Jason mask inside the Freddy glove up here because
Ah,
of that stinger. And I want to say that was either in 93 or 95. I know it was sometime in the 90s.
yeah, I remember hearing about it in '95. That's when I
Hmm.
had first started reading Fangoria.
Hmm. Yes, great magazine.
It's awesome. I know they went out of print for a while, but I think now they are printing.
Hmm.
I'd be more interested in just getting a digital subscription.
Hmm.
I hope they have that option. I don't know. I
Or I
haven't looked.
wish, you know what? I should look. Do they have a YouTube channel? Because they really should. A lot of
I
these
haven't thought
publications,
to look.
they need to like um kind of I'm gonna look it up as I'm talking, which I'm terrible at multitasking. But they should have a YouTube channel. They should have a TikTok.
They should, especially in this day.
Okay, there's a Fangoria Studios YouTube channel.
Okay. That's for
And then
their in-house
there's another
movies.
Fangoria channel. I don't know if it's their official channel, but they only have like 182 views,
Hmm.
103 views. Is this their official channel? Let me look.
It might be an abandoned channel.
They have 8,000 subscribers. It says since 79, Fangoria is the first fright, a horror brand. You guys need to advertise your channel more because the fact that I didn't know you had a channel until today is not good marketing.
Mm-mm. Is it still live? Like, are they still posting stuff?
The last thing they posted was 2 weeks ago,
Huh.
and it has 182 views. Yeah, they have to get their message out more that they have a channel
Well,
because I can
you
see
would.
where they can do a lot of the things that they did in the magazine also on the channel.
Okay, yeah.
Like with the interviews, because one of the things I loved about Fangoria magazine is they interviewed the
Hmm.
special effects technicians.
Yes. And that was always fun. I
Hmm.
didn't understand everything, but I still loved it because by the time all those articles were published, the movie was finally out, and then I'm watching the movie and I'm like, oh, that's what they were talking about.
Hmm.
That's how that thing works. So it's like, yeah, I found it useful.
We
Uh,
have a few more chats here.
yeah, Carrie was like a deer in the headlights to me. She really was, that poor
Hmm.
girl. She was extremely sheltered, I think the word is.
Yes.
And yeah, it's even mentioned in the book. I don't know if any of the remakes brought it up, but she didn't know the correct use of tampons. She was using them to blot her lipstick with,
Hmm.
which even me thinking like, okay, Carrie's wearing lipstick to school, but everyone dumps on her. She has some sort of self-esteem if she still wants,
Hmm.
to pretty herself for even just herself. And I don't think anything really touches on that. Like, it's always they dumped on her, they did this, they did that, but no one
Hmm.
ever really touches on. And that would be fun to have like a movie done from Carrie's point of view. I'd love to see that.
Hmm.
Like, because there's a lot of stuff on that inside perspective that we didn't get in the book, we didn't get from the films. And I mean, the tampon thing, the lipstick thing, like, not that I'm saying it repeatedly on purpose, but if she
Hmm.
wanted to like primp herself, that says a lot more about the character than we realize. Or I don't know, maybe Stephen King just meant to leave that open to interpretation.
Yeah.
Oh, hey Fox, long time no see. The Fox eye surgeries.
Hmm.
Let's see. Kara, I love that your wee cute little bagel
Beagle.
dogs. Beagle dogs sounds like what?
Gozar's Hellhounds.
Ah,
Those are the Hellhounds from Ghostbusters.
yeah. I love those guys.
Hmm.
Oh, okay, yeah. I wasn't sure how to pronounce it. And then of course, Fox Minky says hi to Tony Man.
I think it's Faux Minky Latte.
Ah, where did we go? Ah, yes,
No,
I'm
no,
sorry.
I was just saying that's how to pronounce their name is Faux Minky
Oh,
Latte.
Minky.
Hmm.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just can't do the reading thing today. Lady Sasha kind of being one third of the white kids in a city school.
Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. I think what Tony Man is saying is like when I was talking about 4 black students by the time I was in 6th grade, because 4th grade, there was a time when I lived in South Glastonbury, Connecticut.
Mhm.
Me and my sister were the only two. No, I take it back. It was me, my sister, and one Asian girl that was adopted. Were the 3 students of color in a all white school that had 5 grades. Like
Wow.
that was well. The fortunate thing about in Glastonbury is the kids were much nicer in Glastonbury than they were when I moved to East Hartford. Like in Glastonbury, they would just ask you, oh, where are you from? What's your name? They were more curious. Whereas in East Hartford, it was like racial epithet, make fun of your features. Like it was night and day. And these are neighboring towns. So it's really wild to see the difference in culture dynamic between the two neighboring towns.
Or just
Um,
seeing the difference in how people were raised.
yes.
Pretty smelly though.
Mm-hmm.
Horror is tough. Even her dogs are tough and outspoken.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was the ROTC thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and
Oh, I
then
didn't ask you today how hot it is there. Because we have
um,
a heat advisory today here in Orlando.
I know we usually have one. I can check really quick. Oh yeah, we're at 99 degrees right now. Nope, 100. I fibbed.
Oh, wow. We're just at 97.
Yeah, and the high for today is 101, so we're almost there.
Mm.
Yeah, and I've come to realize the hotter the summer, the colder the winters. They match that way lately.
Oh, then I have something to look forward to. Because a cold winter here in Orlando means, oh, it's gonna be 50 degrees. Yay.
No, it's like in our end, like we have those ice storms, like the winter breezes that come
Oh
through.
yes, yeah, yeah. I remember because my brother lives in Houston, and I think last year their power had gone out because it was so cold and the
Hmm.
power grid just couldn't handle I guess the amount of people trying to use their heaters or something. I'm not sure.
Sometimes it circulates, like sometimes people are cut from electricity for an hour so that a different area can have electricity,
Oh.
and then it just kind of cycles that way. So that might be a thing also.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but we have those, and then we have the ice storms.
Mm-hmm.
And luckily, only once last year my power went out. Other than that, we were fine.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it sucked being cold, but we were fine.
Yeah. I grew up with ice storms in Connecticut, and the only time the power goes out is if the ice gets on the power lines and then weighs them down, or sometimes the ice will get on a tree branch and a tree
Ooh,
branch weighs down onto the power line, and then you get your power cut. But a lot of it's worse if you live in an apartment than a house, because at least in a house you can still use your fireplace.
yeah. Yeah, I have an apartment with a fireplace, but I've never used it.
Hmm.
But it's nice knowing it's there if I ever do.
Yes.
Let me see. There was also the Freddy versus Jason versus Ash script. Final Friday had a segue for the script as the Necronomicon in as the old Voorhees house. They snag what the snag was. They used the prop without asking Sam Raimi.
Oh, I didn't know that. I did notice that there's a Necronomicon in the Jason Goes to Hell movie, and
Mm,
how it's kind of a nod to saying that Jason is a deadite, basically. And so I didn't know that they didn't ask Sam Raimi, because there's also a comic book series that
mm.
is Freddy versus Jason versus Ash. And there's Freddy over there, and there's
I remember
Jason,
hearing
and
about
Ash
that.
is in there.
Yeah, I just didn't know if it was just a comic series.
Yeah, this
Uh,
is written by James Kuhorik and Jason Craig. Suggested for mature readers. Yeah.
that means boobies.
Hmm.
Let me see. They did eventually make it into a comic, but Final Friday hence Pamela used it to bring back Jason. Huh.
Hmm.
Okay.
And that's one of I mean, aside from the Necronomicon part of Jason Goes to Hell, I would say, even though it's not the best Friday the 13th sequel, in my opinion, it does have the best gore. The
Hmm.
gore in Final Friday, it surpasses the gore in all the other installments.
Hmm. And it's funny. It's totally a horror thing. Like they say, it's the final whatever, and then you get
Hmm.
five more in the series.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
funny.
he had two, because remember, wait, Friday 13th 4 is the final Friday. And then let me think.
They called it too
Part,
soon.
part 9 would be Jason Goes to Hell, also the final Friday.
The
So
final
he's
Friday
had a
part
final
two.
twice.
Who gets two finales?
Hmm.
Jason. um, but yeah, okay. No, so I lost track of where we were. So we were talking about gyms, and showers.
Yes. And hard, and I'm sure guys go through that too. Not wanting to be in a communal shower because the whole body shaming and body judgment thing, whether you're too thin, too big, whether you're judging each other's genitals, which is also a thing that
Yeah.
seems to happen. It's horrible.
And I mean, I never thought to ask that, but it even makes me curious. Are guys more like um, harsh towards other guys' genitals rather than, you know, like girls picking on other girls because of their flat chested or
Hmm.
I
I
mean,
do wonder.
I mean, guys probably have to have like some version of that.
Hmm.
Yeah, it never dawned on me to ask. Um, so yeah, so Carrie gets her first period in the gym showers, and I like how was it De Palma the way he filmed it.
Yes.
It's very artsy. It's very tasteful. It
Hmm.
almost looks like you're watching some sort of an art house film, but it's just these girls running through in the shower, and then Carrie, you
Hmm.
know, the last one to take a shower, and it's just to her horror, she notices this, you know, the blood running down her leg, which I
Hmm.
mean, you and I kind of talked about our own experiences with that also. Um, on my end, it was just kind of like, darn, mom, why couldn't you have told me? Luckily, it happened on a weekend, not a school
Yeah.
day.
Yeah. Mine happened in the summertime. It wasn't during school because, oh God, kids I went to school with, they would have never let me live it down. And
Yeah,
so I'm glad it happened in the summertime. But yeah, it was Brian De Palma's really good with his eye for, or whomever his cinematographer is, because sometimes with older movies you had a cinematographer who was separate from the director, who was also separate from the director of photography. They
hmm,
used to have many roles, whereas now it seems like the newer movies, they're scaling back a lot on production, on paying the different people that would have these different specialties, and now you have the director who's also the director of photography and also the editor and also like it's
and
I
that's
think
not always.
collaboration is a thing we need to bring back, because not some people are not good at everything. Some people are good at one thing.
Yeah,
But there's another Brian De Palma movie that I want to mention. It's kind of similar to Carrie,
the
also
Fury.
shot very beautiful, and I think it's underrated. It's called the Fury. It's so underrated.
No, it's a good one, and I mean,
Hmm.
it's definitely a Carrie ripoff, but it's a good movie.
Hmm. I think it should be placed right up there with Damien. Not as high as The Exorcist, but definitely with Damien. I think it's
Are we talking about President Damien or Private School Damien?
oh, Private School the first Damien, this when he was first introduced. Although I like Private School Damien too when he was a teenager, that was really good. But
Hmm.
President Damien, that
Eh,
one, it was entertaining enough, but it's not one of the ones I really rewatch a lot. But that
it's
first one,
entertaining, but I mean, if you're evil enough to make beagles go and attack people, knowing that they're very friendly dogs, I'm like,
hmm
you have to be evil.
hmm that's what I'm gonna start calling our governor now. Governor Damien. That's what he's giving. That's what he's giving. It's like he wakes up every day and go, "How can I be evil today?"
I'm sure he has a list from the day before.
Yes.
I didn't get to all of these things today.
Hmm.
I'll get to these tomorrow. But
Okay,
yeah,
we
it's
have a
kind of
couple answers in the comments about whether guys are receive the same type of bullying in the locker room.
okay. How far down do I need to skip?
Start with Tony Man,
Tony Man.
who just writes the same three words over and over again.
Let's see, I'm still searching. Oh, yes, yes, yes.
And then Marty adds to that.
Ah, okay. Irish lads are fairly cavalier when it comes to it. Like with most lads, rule is you don't look at my plumbing and I don't look at yours. Benefits of Catholic guilt, I guess.
Hmm.
Yeah, I can see how some places would be like that. Um, but yeah, it's kind of like I wouldn't call it a sexual awakening because Carrie is still, you know, the has that purity that her mom wants her to have. But she's definitely awakened to her womanhood the next stage of
Mhm.
her life. And um, that's also when her telekinesis becomes more apparent, because she did have it as a child. She would play with things floating above her crib when she was a kid.
Mhm.
And then from there, we still have those instances with the stones where she would bring them down upon the house. So other things would still happen when she was upset, and then somehow it got oppressed until her menstruation.
Mhm. And then I think the emotions that she was experiencing probably brought it back out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not so much like what one would call a sexual awakening as more is a person's coming of age, realizing
Yeah.
that she's no longer a child and she's becoming an adult woman. There's another scene in the movie that really alludes to it when she's getting ready for prom and she's made her own dress.
Mm-hmm.
And her mother can't even bring herself to say the word breasts.
Yeah, she
And
says
she's like,
dirty
they're called
pillows.
breasts, mama.
Yeah. See, and that's another thing. The Carrie's dress in the book, it wasn't pink. I want to say it was burgundy. I want to say it was velvet, some kind of
Hmm.
a princess cut.
Which makes sense. I think the reason why cinematically they changed it to a lighter color is
Yeah,
to have that scene with the pig's blood really
yeah,
stand out. Because if she's wearing this light color dress, the pig's
yeah,
blood is going to stand out more on it than if she was wearing a burgundy dress.
yeah. It would just blend right in. It would just be
And
deeper reds.
now that I think about it, that's probably why they changed her to blonde. Because with
Hmm.
the dark hair and the burgundy dress, the blood's not going to have as an impactful view on cinematically than if you have someone with light hair and a light dress.
Hmm. Yeah, and then I do like how along the way, because Carrie, she gets sent home from school, and her mom has no sympathy for her. She's trying to tell her, "I've had this traumatic thing happen today. Why didn't you tell me about it?" And she's, "Get on your knees and pray, like you're unclean now. You're a woman now." And
Mhm.
she's even hitting her in the face with the book, like,
Oh, yeah, it speaks to her mother's madness because
mm-hmm,
the fact that she's so deep into her religious zealotry that she doesn't realize that certain things are a function of being well, I don't wanna say a function of being human because I don't wanna feel I don't wanna make people feel othered because not every woman has a period. Some women do not have periods. So I don't wanna say that it's a,
correct.
but for women who do have periods, it's a function of their body that can't be at that time cannot be altered. Now I understand there's, birth controls that stop your period. So so now I guess you can. But back in the time when this was written, there was nothing available that was going to stop your period.
Mm-mm. No, yeah, definitely. And I was even curious about trying those, but
Hmm.
um, what do you call it? I have a potential for cancer in my family, so that's not a
Yeah,
smart thing for me to do.
same here. And I mean, full disclosure, I've actually had surgery to remove tumors, which was very nerve wracking because I had really started with having abnormal menstruation,
Hmm.
super like bleeding excessively, which for years I didn't know that you weren't supposed to bleed as much as what I was bleeding because there isn't a whole lot of talking about what's normal within the confines of a period, what you're supposed to feel, what level of pain is too much pain, what level of bleeding is too much, what level of bleeding is too little. So I didn't know until I was in the emergency room basically because I was in so much pain and became anemic because of the loss of
Wow.
blood. And that's
Hmm.
when I found out that I had these tumors that were called polyps.
Oh,
And then you have to go through having a biopsy, which is where they take a sample from off of the tumor, like um they just basically take a sample from it and they send it out to the lab to find out whether you have cancer. And waiting that, I think it was about 2 weeks, I had to wait for the biopsy to come back. It's torturous waiting to find out whether you have cancer or not. So
yeah.
fortunately, my tumors were benign, but they still needed to be removed because they would just keep growing and growing and growing. So I had to have surgery to have them removed. But I wish that it wasn't such a taboo to talk about menstruation so that women and girls can find out if they're having issues like some women have endometriosis, some women have PCOS, and typically don't find out until they've had it for years, because we
Hmm.
don't talk about what we're literally supposed to feel and go through. Even though there's a sliding scale of what's normal, everybody has a different norm, but there's certain things that are um, symptomatic of other issues that need to
Hmm.
be looked at medically. But that's
And that's
that's another topic for another discussion. I could talk all day about that.
well, no, I was going to say we take for granted that the doors are open now and people talk more freely, and that's BS. Like
Hmm.
as you just said, it's like people aren't talking about it enough.
Hmm.
I mean, there's very likely a lot of topics that are still being ignored, and we have just people thinking, "Oh no, I'm woke. We know about this, we know about that." I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, just wait until it happens to you.
Yeah.
You're really going to wake up then, buddy.
Hmm. And talk about issues that are a little bit more pressing. And I'm gonna put momentarily a black perspective on this. I don't want to have these long conversations online on whether a non-black person can wear cornrows. Literally don't care. It's a hairstyle. Yes, it comes from my culture, from my cultural identity. It doesn't affect me as much as medical malpractice against black women. How
Yeah,
about you talk about how many black women are ignored when they're saying that they're in pain? And because there's a certain segment of non-black people that believe that black people's pain tolerance is higher than non-black people's pain
that sounds
tolerance,
so
which is
cool.
a fallacy. That's a more important discussion to me than, oh, so and so has on braids. They're culture appropriating. I literally don't
That's
care. I don't care
stupid.
about her braids. I care about if I go to the hospital and I say, this is bothering me, that somebody listens. That's more important to me right now. But I'm
Yeah.
only talking, mind you, if you're watching this and you say, oh, this black lady said, I only speak for myself. I don't speak for all black people. I'm just speaking for myself.
Well, no, I mean, like the cultural appropriation, I don't hear it as much as I used to, but even that's
Hmm.
bullshit. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen what is it, Bo Derek and Tin. She had corn rolls, so what?
Yeah.
No one bothered her.
And they're misusing the term. The term cultural appropriation literally means when you take from a culture and you profit off it without acknowledging that culture. Like, for example, when there was a designer that he put Bantu knots on his models, and he called them, um, it might have been Marc Jacobs. I can't remember which designer it was, but he called him Marc Jacob knots. And then he wrote all these articles in the fashion magazine. Oh, he came up with these knots. And it's like, no, you didn't. Those are just Bantu knots from the Bantu tribes of Africa. That's cultural appropriation. When you
Yeah.
literally lie and say you made up some shit you didn't make up, you didn't make, not just someone wearing a style. I call that cultural appreciation. And
It should be
some
called that.
places make money off of cultural appreciation. If you go to Korea, there are shops that you go into and they'll be like, "Hey, try on this hanbok." That's from their culture. They don't feel, assaulted by having foreigners come and try on their hanbok. Now, if I come back to United States and I produce clothing that looks exactly like a hanbok, and I start calling it like what uh, Kim Kardashian tried to do when she tried to call her version of Spanx kimonos. And it's like, you know what a kimono is. You know that that's from Jap. That's
Not
cultural appropriation. You try to make money off of something that's 1,000 years old, and you just stole the name because you are a. I'm just gonna call you a selfish witch, because there's no way you didn't know what a kimono is when you named your Spanx that. Like, that's just beyond the pale.
well, that's just an insult to kimonos. They're just
Yes.
beautifully made, handcrafted.
Yes, some of them hand painted on silk, like,
Hmm.
it's beautiful, and you're gonna come up with some cheap ass Spanx and call it that? I feel like the country of Japan should have sued her. That's
She
cultural appropriation.
she just deserved a really good knock on the head a couple of times.
Mhm. And what's crazy is she keeps doing it and never to her own culture. It's like, lady, you are half Armenian. I haven't seen you do a single thing that is of Armenian culture during your whole career of being a socialite. Like, there are some really beautiful things in Armenian culture, and you don't display any of it. And I'm sure the people in Armenia are like, well, damn, she's famous and she's half Armenian, but she never even shouts us out or does anything positive that would show our culture. Hey, Knight.
Yeah. Hey, Knight, thanks for stopping by. Very awesome. Always glad to have you. Um,
Marty has a question and a
my,
confession.
Oh, it's a confession. I like that Carrie saved Miss Collins in the remake as opposed to her getting killed in the original. In the novel, she was Rita Desjardins, I think. Does
Hmm.
she survive the novel? I
I
want to say
cannot
no.
remember. I honestly cannot remember.
There's no mention of her towards the end, so it's not clear if she dies. I know in the movie she does.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I can't even imagine how scary that is waiting for the results. Yeah. Yeah, I had a cancer scare myself earlier this year, and
Oh wow.
I mean, like, luckily it's everything came back fine, but it's,
Hmm.
I just noticed some abnormalities, and it's kind of like, I have a history in my family. I know I'm too young to be getting checked for this, but take a look because it would
Hmm.
make me feel better. I'm like, better safe than sorry.
Exactly.
Oh, off topic. I'm waiting for Lady Sasha to sing Last Dance or On the Radio. She's giving me Donna Summer vibes.
Thank you. That's what I was going for. Did somebody tell you that, Tony? Man, I was going for. I wanted my hair to look like Donna Summer's hair in the 70s, and I was thinking, well, maybe I got more of the 80s Shaka Khan, but either way, I love it. I've always wanted hair this big, which is really ironic since I got teased a lot for having curly hair as a kid. But at the same time I was being teased for having curly hair, I was seeing these women on television, like Donna
Mhm.
Summer. I remember her. She Works Hard for the Money music video being played on MTV, and this iconic Diana Ross in Central Park concert. I was like 7 when I saw that on HBO, and it started raining, and the wind was blowing through her hair, making it look even bigger than already was. And then by the time I was 9, Shaka Khan was out singing uh, "I Feel for You," and ever since then I've
Ah,
always wanted. I
yes.
have hair dysmorphia. My hair is not big, and it's never big enough.
But yeah, I
And
know the
then
song you're talking about.
yeah, and then the ladies from Heart, I don't know if you remember their videos, their hair
Oh,
always
yeah,
looks
Anne and
so big and
Nancy.
then yes, big hair, big voices, I love it, and
Yeah,
it's funny
big
how
women, tall. Hannah.
yes, yes, because Nancy Wilson, I used to hate how they would try to I think her last name is Wilson, I might be mistaken, but I hate how in some of the later videos, when she started to gain weight, they tried to hide her. Like,
Yeah.
they would just do close-ups on her face and I was like, "Why are you trying to hide this woman? She looks fine."
Mm-hmm.
They did that with Carney Wilson too, in Wilson Phillips. They would put her behind a piano, or they would just try to do her face in close up, of the other girls, their full bodies, and I hate that. But I'm glad she was there.
Yeah. I mean, well, everyone should be treated the same. I mean, if it's a
Hmm.
group, they should all have the same respect.
Hmm.
Hey there, y'all. Salute to the ladies. Did I
Thank
do
you.
that one already?
You might have, but keep going. There's a few more.
Okay, and then a pleasure. Definitely better to be safe than sorry. Yes.
Yes,
Oh, here we go. She works hard for the money.
yes. And oh, my outfit is inspired by a few weeks ago I was watching Mannequin, which is on I
Oh,
think it's on HBO Max, and I was like I want that 80s because at the time when this was popping I was too little. I was like 8 years old and I wanted to look like those ladies in the 80s. And now I can. I can go online and find my 80s aesthetic. I have a an acid wash skirt that I found on Temu for like
ooh.
$4 and some change. I'm waiting for that to come next week. Can live out my 80s fantasy. Because I was by the time I was a teenager, it was the 90s, which was cool, but
Not as
it
cool.
not as cool as the 80s.
Yeah. The 90s had some there was one fashion mistake after another.
Hmm. It was pretty wild. I still have my boots though. I will never stop wearing my combat boots. They're comfortable.
Yep.
They go with everything.
It's the same reason I keep my biker boots, especially with those storms that we get down here lately.
Hmm.
They have slip resistance, and I've only slipped in them once, but yeah.
Nice.
Let me see. So are we going to get an a cappella version of On the Radio? Come on, man.
No, because I'm drinking coffee and it has creamer in it, and that
Oh yeah,
affects your singing
it coats
ability.
the
Um,
vocals.
the other thing that affects my singing ability is the fact that I can't sing. I'm not a good singer. What do you I mean, if I was a good singer, I would really be trying to be out here singing, especially since you can self-publish directly to like Spotify now and iTunes. I would have been made a record if I could sing.
And like with your style, you could totally sell records just on your look alone.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. And for context, I know I keep bringing back up the bullying thing because we're talking about Carrie, and a large part of her story is the bullying.
Yes,
And
even by
it
her own mom.
it means a lot when Kara says, "Oh, based on your look, you could sell records." Because I'm literally a person that people used to bark at.
Oh
Like,
God.
yeah, literally seventh grade, they would say, "Oh, you're ugly," and I would walk by in the hallway and they would literally bark. Mind you, I look exactly the same as today. Like nothing about my face has changed since middle school. No nose job, no feature changes. I just look like the same person but older. So it's wild that people are like, "You're not ugly." I'm like, "Thank you."
And we have Fominky saying, "I've only heard that song in the movie Foxes."
Oh, you have to look up the music video for it. I mean, look up any 80s music videos. They were so dynamic because I can't say it was a super new format because they did make they didn't call them music videos when they made them in the 60s. I think they called them by a different name.
It was like
Um
a promotion or something.
yeah, it was like a promotion, and um I'm trying to remember who told me about this. It might have been my mother, it might have been my stepfather. That back in the 50s or 60s, they used to have like in the malt shops, which in US a malt shop is like a diner that serves like milkshakes and ice
Milkshakes.
cream and that type of thing. That back then they used to have these TVs that the record label would set in the malt shop, and the TVs would play just the promotional videos from the um, groups, like the doo-wop groups and stuff like that. It was like a really new thing to have there. And so that's how the teenagers would see these promotional videos if they didn't play them on like regular scheduled programming. And
Hmm.
then I guess by the 70s they took those out because malt shops were no longer popping in the 70s. So when MTV came back, it was like another way for them to do that again. But the added benefit of MTV, I know this is so off topic, sorry, was that we got a lot of international groups. Because back in the 60s, you might have had one or two international groups per year, but in the 80s, it was like an invasion. I hate to use the term invasion because invasion sounds negative.
Oh yeah. Well, it's considered the second British invasion or the second
Yeah.
British coming.
And we had so many. We had like there was like Depeche Mode and Erasure and Pet Shop Boys, Animotion, Duran Duran. I feel like I'm missing somebody. Oh, Wham! That's a huge one. Wham! Oh my God.
I like how you said that. Wham!
Yes, because that was a huge one. There was just so much. Annie Lennox and the Eurythmics. Like there was so much.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I love
and then
it.
some. Then from Australia, Men at Work. And
Mhm.
I used to think that the Police were also from Australia, but I think they're British. I don't know why I
I'd
thought
say
they were from
British. Yeah.
Australia, but and you too actually might be from Ireland and not
I
England.
believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I used to hear Bart Simpson, Howard the Duck, Donald Duck, Jiminy Cricket, and Quack Quack walking down the halls from fourth grade to senior year as I was, aw, as well as I
Yeah,
smelled like pee. That sucks.
that's terrible.
Annie Lennox has an amazing voice. Love her music. I do
She
too.
does. Hmm.
Um, I can't decide if I like her better with the Eurythmics or alone because solo she's a lot more free to talk about different topics.
Hmm.
So I
I
but
like
then
both.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's the same as like Stevie Nicks and Fleetwood Mac. It's just another
Yeah.
one to get more Stevie.
Or there's some people I can't tell you which is which. Like I can't tell you which songs are Phil Collins songs and which songs my
Genesis.
Genesis, yeah.
Yeah,
And Peter Gabriel too, because I think Peter Gabriel, I want to say Peter Gabriel was the original was he the original frontman for Genesis?
I want to say
Or was
yes.
it Robert Palmer? No, Robert Palmer was with Power Station.
Hmm.
Yeah. And Peter Cetera and Chicago. Like, is this a Peter Cetera song? It's a Chicago song. I don't know. I think the difference is the horn section. I think the Peter Cetera songs don't have a horn section because, you know, the horn section is one of the defining characteristics of Chicago.
Oh, okay. Yes, he was.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we go with some great music. I'm sorry we got into this conversation. We could also circle back to Carrie with the soundtrack. How did you feel
Okay.
about the score and the soundtrack for Carrie?
I have that on CD. I've only listened to it a couple of times, but I like it. I mean, all
Hmm.
that instrumental stuff. I like that
Hmm.
there really is no vocals in the music.
Hmm. I think it really accurately communicated the things that she was going through. Like one of the standouts is at the very beginning. I keep going back to the beginning, I know, but I'm gonna just contrast it with the ending. The beginning is this really soft music when Carrie's in a shower, and it's the music itself is giving innocence. But then by the end of the movie, the music score is giving this frenetic. I don't want to say I want to say my first thing is to say anger, but it's not just anger, it's also hurt at the same time. It's
Mhm.
giving you how Carrie is both angry and hurt at the same time. Yes, and I saw that Easy Lover best Philip Bailey and Phil Collins song, which by the way, Philip Bailey used to be in Earth, Wind and Fire.
Yeah, I
He's
wouldn't have
the
known that.
high. I don't know whether he would be considered a tenor or whether he's doing a falsetto when he sings Reasons. And then and Fantasy, the operatic part of Fantasy. Oh my God, such a good song.
Yeah, all I know is that falsetto is like that really high toned, soft
Hmm.
voice,
It's like
like Prince.
guys, yeah, like Prince. Prince gave an awesome falsetto. El DeBarge, phenomenal falsetto.
I want to
Um,
say the Bee Gees.
yes, the Bee Gees, yes, very, very awesome falsetto. My mother said that when she was in high school and the Bee Gees first came out, when they heard them, they didn't know they were white. They just assumed that they were some black guys singing, and then they were even more surprised to find out that they were from the UK.
Ah, yeah, I guess like certain music types, we just kind of think so.
Hmm.
Like I know this sounds really bad, but like Rick Astley, I didn't know he was white.
I didn't either. When I first, okay, now this is gonna sound crazy, but when I first heard Never Gonna Give You Up, I thought it was a bald black man. I don't know why I thought he was bald. My mind's eye saw a bald black man singing Never Gonna Give You
Well,
Up. So when
his,
we first saw Rick Astley, we were like, he
what?
looks like that?
Yes.
Wow.
Not just that, his voice sounds older than he actually was
Yes.
sang
Yeah,
it.
very mature sounding voice.
Hmm. Yeah,
And shout out to JJMPB. Yes, 80s music is great.
yeah, yeah. But the Carrie soundtrack, I only have it on CD. There's apparently two different versions of it.
Hmm.
I'm not sure which version I have. I don't
Mm.
know if they've ever printed it on vinyl, pressed it on vinyl.
Hmm. That was a thing that happened a lot in the past with the two different versions of of a score, because for the Keep and also for Legend, there's two scores, like one done by Tangerine Dream and then another one done by like I can't remember the composer's name, but you know those famous film score composers.
Hmm.
So it'd be pretty interesting to see the Keep with the original Tangerine Dream soundtrack. Yeah, thank you, Lenny. No one thought Rick Astley was.
No, I didn't either. Oh, you just
So
got
you got
double
double Rick roll.
rickrolled. Do people even know what a rickroll is anymore?
Yeah, I wonder. Oh, it gives me an idea what to do on TikTok. I should Rick roll these kids. Bring
I
it back.
go for it. You have to. I think that was like one of the earliest memes.
Mm-hmm.
That and the saxophone. Uh, s- uh, uh, what is it? The darn it, Careless Whisper.
Yes, I
Whisper.
loved the sax. I think he was called Sexy Sax Man or something like that. When he would just go
Yeah.
into classrooms and play Careless Whisper.
Well,
that was
the one
that
I'm
was
thinking, he was
amazing.
like in red spandex, never wore a
Mm-hmm.
shirt. Yeah. There
I'm
was even
the harmless days of the old internet. Not these. This the new pranksters are just annoying people. They're
well,
like
they
they
can
keep getting.
also just be
And it's like you're
vicious.
doing stuff that's illegal. Stop doing that.
Oh, like that, walking up and saying, in someone's ear.
Mm-hmm.
You could totally get beat up for that.
Yes.
Or when COVID first hit, there were people going around coughing on fruits and vegetables.
Or sneezing behind people but spraying them with a water bottle so it felt like you literally sneezed on them. Like that's the type of thing that could get you really knocked out.
Well, they should have gotten knocked out.
Hmm. Oh, I didn't know that. Tony Man says never gonna give you
Oh,
up, and then
sorry.
Marty says, "Oh, I
I think
already
I
said it."
skipped
Yeah, and
the
then Marty
Tangerine
says,
Dreams.
mm-hmm, was meant
Yeah.
to be on the Blade Runner score, but Evangelis got the gig. They did do Ridley Scott's Legend. Yes, they did. There's two versions of Legend. So if you are buying the
Yes.
hard copy, check that both scores are on there. Because some of them only have the second score versus the
Yeah.
original score.
The extended version has Tangerine Dreams,
Mm.
and those
Or
other
yes,
people I don't
Tony
know
Man
about.
licking the ice cream and putting back on the shelf. That was so disgusting.
Really?
Yeah, that was a thing they were doing during like right in 2020 when COVID was super heavy and people didn't know much about it, and they were licking ice cream and putting it back on, recording themselves doing this for social media.
That's disgusting.
Hmm.
Like that one's just going too far. I hope no one bought that ice cream.
No, and they did get arrested too.
Good.
If your prank gets you arrested, just know that you deserved it. don't
Well, they
don't
don't
do
think they
stupid
did.
stuff like that. Like the sax man thing, that was harmless. You go in the classroom, you play this Careless Whisper, everybody laughs, he leaves. It's harmless. You're not hurting anybody. Click
Yeah.
rolling. You're not hurting anybody by thinking, oh, I'm gonna click on this video about how to bake bread, but instead it's Rick Ashley singing Never Gonna Give You Up. Like those are
Yeah.
harmless pranks.
Well,
Don't
I
do.
know in the day there was even a phone number that you could pass around like it was a fake phone number, and as soon as they called, it was Rick Astley.
Mm-hmm.
I never got a hold of that phone number, but I wonder if it still works.
Mm.
Oh, ew. We're drinking Gatorade and spitting it back in the bottle, and they're still doing it. What?
Oh, that's
They're still doing that
disgusting.
one? I'm glad I don't drink Gatorade.
Mm.
I don't know why, but I always thought the saxophone meme was Kenny G.
No, he different type of saxophone. He plays a tenor saxophone, and I think that is I don't know what the other type of saxophone is, but the tenor saxophone is smaller than Sexy Sax Man. But yeah, I can see the comparison because of the hair also.
Yeah. I can see that.
Speaking of hair, you know who we didn't talk about that was in Carrie?
Hmm.
John Travolta, and I think he was pretty known for his hair back then.
Yeah, I don't know if this was like his first big film. Like, I know his like first, like the very, very first film was Devil's Reign.
Yes,
You
he
couldn't
has a
even see his
very small
face.
part in Devil's Reign. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and
Oh,
then
which
I
one?
don't, huh?
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I don't know if he did Welcome Back Cotter before or after Carrie.
Hmm. Let's look it up. I was gonna say, the mask for Devil's Reign is
Hmm.
the mask in the original Halloween, the
Yeah,
William
William
Shatner mask.
Shatner. Yeah.
Let's see.
So it's not
Welcome
just
back.
Halloween that you see that mask.
Okay, Welcome Back Cotter premiered 1975, and I think Carrie might have been 74. Let me see.
I'm
Or was it the
thinking
same year? Carrie.
76 or
No, it's 76. So he was on Welcome Back Cotter before he did Carrie.
okay, so he was already known when he did Carrie.
And what year was Devil's Reign? Let's see. Devil's.
Ooh, early 70s.
1975. He did a lot in those 2 years.
Oh wow.
So then when was the disco movie? Was it Staying Alive?
Yes.
Staying
I think that was like, see, I don't know if Carrie was like his big break, or if it was, or was it Staying Alive? I know it was
Oh
one of
wait, I
those.
think Staying Alive is the sequel.
No,
No,
there's
no. It's
another
Saturday
one.
Night Fever is the original. Saturday Night Fever is 1977. So he was working steady. From 75, 76, 77, he was busy.
Yeah. Okay, so Staying Alive's the sequel to Saturday
Yeah.
Night.
But yeah, his bully character, he seemed more stupid than mean.
Yeah, but
His
I can
girlfriend was the
totally.
real mean one because she was the one coming up with these horrible things to do to Carrie.
Okay, but fair enough. They were both ugly to each other. They would both
Yes.
slap each other.
Yes, they were. It was a very toxic relationship.
And then towards the end of it, at least that in the end of the book, when he's talking about skipping town and getting away from all of this, she's already broken up with him, and then she turns around and begs him to take her with him. Like
Hmm.
Chris makes no sense.
No, not at all.
She's another one of them hysterical women's.
Mm.
Let me see. If you get a chance, listen to Edith of Ghostbusters theme. Either, I think, of
Hmm.
Ghostbusters themes where they remove any mention of Ghostbusters in the chorus is busting makes you feel good.
Oh yeah, even with the Ghostbusters theme with Ray Parker Jr. singing it, I have always laughed at "Bustin' Makes Me Feel Good." I'm sorry, I refuse to believe that he didn't know that was a double entendre. Um, you know how he got that job. Um, some of you guys probably already heard this story, but I'll tell it for benefit of anybody that's younger that may not have heard the story. They originally asked Huey Lewis in the News to do the theme for Ghostbusters,
Mm.
and they said no. And if you listen very closely to the Ghostbusters song, it sounds eerily similar to "I Want a New Drug," like da-da-da-da-da-da. It's like the same "I Want a New Drug," like right after. It's very, very similar, like to the point where I'm pretty sure there was a lawsuit. So then after that, when I want to say it was Robert Zemeckis, I could be wrong, they ended up asking Huey Lewis and the News to do the theme song for Back to the Future, and this time they said yes because they figured, well, if we say no, you guys are just going to copy us again.
Yeah,
So
but
we'll just do
they
this.
did a
We'll do
good
the song.
they did a good theme song for Back to the Future.
Yes, it is. Thank you. JJMP said there was a lawsuit.
Ah,
I
okay.
figured there would be. To Ray Parker Jr.'s um, defense, he has had multiple songs stolen by other people as well. So I guess
Oh.
he figured, well, shoot, they do it to me, I'm going to do it to them.
Well, that's just bullying all over again.
Yeah. Or it's possible that the film company said, "Hey, we want a Huey Lewis in the News. Can you make us a Huey Lewis in the News type song?" Where he might have been instructed to make something that sounded like their sound.
Hmm. Possibly.
Hmm.
But
I
then
wouldn't
it's
put
not.
it past the movie company because movie
No.
companies copy off each other all the time. I remember during the time that I worked in a movie theater, um, A Bug's Life and Ants came out at the same
Oh
time.
yeah. I remember.
Armageddon and Deep Impact and Dante's Peak. I think that was all during the same summer.
Hmm.
Um, I feel like there was a movie that came out alongside Starship Troopers that was similar, but I can't remember what it was. But yeah, they copy off each other all the time.
Yeah. It's just all. It's pretty much all about how quick can we get our version to the theater.
Hmm.
Meant to say edit. Bloody auto correct mixed. Sorry, I'm struggling with the way you talk, Marty. I'm sorry. Bloody auto correct mixed with my dyslexia. Sorry, Kara.
I can hear that in his voice. I love how Marty talks.
No, I love it. It's just I got mixed up myself. Like I'm kind of like trying to read it, I'm trying to understand it, and then I'm like, oh, okay, I get it, and then I had to
Hmm.
read it over again. Sorry, Marty. Oh yeah, Dante's
Yeah.
Peak and Volcano.
Yes. There was always two.
Mm-hmm.
There was like a whole time period in the 90s where there was always two movies about the same thing.
Yeah, but I liked Volcano better than Dante's Peak.
I didn't see either one, even though like I said, I was working at the movie theaters when these came out. I didn't see them. I did see something about Mary about 8 times.
Oh wow.
I saw that over and over again. Oh, I was also working in the movie theater when Wishmaster came out, and I used to always
Oh,
go in and watch the opening of Wishmaster over and over again. That was a fun movie.
I wanted to like that movie so bad, and I tried watching it a couple of years back. I'm like, nope, still don't like it.
It's the type of movie that it's bad and good at the same time. It's very schlocky. It's a little bit campy, but I like movies that are kind of like that. Stuff like Wishboard, Mirror Mirror. They're not the best horror movies. They're never scary, but there's something entertaining about them to me.
But I like those two, the Witchboard, Mirror Mirror.
Hmm.
The sequel we didn't need. The third was practically a porno.
Yeah. Do you mean of Wishboard
Um,
or of Wishmaster?
um, Mirror Mirror.
Oh, Mirror Mirror. I haven't seen the sequels to Mirror Mirror. I only saw the first one. I didn't know that there were
Witchboard.
sequels to Mirror Mirror. Okay, so I have to look those up.
Yeah, I was still young enough, so I watched them when they were new.
Um,
That's funny.
Volcano and Dante's Peak, Armageddon and Deep Impact. There was a time where you got copies like a plague. Yeah, you
Yes.
know what's funny? Now that you say copies like a plague, we have that now, but they go directly to streaming. I mean,
Mhm.
if you just look up anything Asylum has ever done, I'm quite sure Asylum is probably working on their ripoff of the Exorcist movie that's coming out in the fall.
Oh, see, I call
Um,
those mockbusters. I think that's what
yes,
they're called.
and they basically their whole function is just to trick uh people into thinking they're watching that. Like there was a movie called, what was it called? Conjuring. It was called Conjuring the something. Was it Conjuring the Amityville? I don't remember. It was like some weird name that was a combination of two different movies that it was neither of. Tony Man has one. Transformers and Transmorphers. Yes, they did that.
That's a thing.
Yes, that's a thing. There's also a movie called Alien versus Hunter, which is basically their
Predator thing.
yeah, Predator versus Alien ripoff. Like they I think it's Asylum that also did Titanic 666.
I'm sure it felt that way to the people on board. Jeez.
Hmm. And then Tony Man says, "When a stranger calls and when a killer calls."
Oh yeah.
Yes, yeah, those are Asylum. I wonder if there's an Asylum. Is there an Asylum version of Carrie? Let's Google.
I know they make really bad movies, but I would watch it if they did Carrie. But then again, didn't Asylum also do the Sharknado movies?
I'm not sure because those seem better than Asylum movies.
They seem too good to be an Asylum. I know it's so mean. I'm picking on this theater
Hmm.
production company.
As of yet, I'm not finding any Asylum rip-offs of Carrie. No. So I'm sure they probably, oh no, let me put Asylum telekinesis movie because they
That
probably
might hit. Yeah.
Asylum.
Knight says, gotta head out and get some dinner. Great discussion. Thanks for stopping by, Knight.
Thank you.
And then Marty says, they prey on the ignorance of non cinephiles. That I would believe.
Hmm.
Mm.
Okay, so there's a couple of Asylum movies. One is called The Atticus Institute, which is about telekinesis, and one called Psychotic Asylum. Oh, well, no, that one is probably, that's from Higher Films. No, that's not it. So just The Atticus Institute.
Hmm. Which is probably something different altogether.
Mm-hmm.
I did want to mention like the school in Cary, the Bates High School, even the Bates Pig Farm. That's a Psycho reference, Norman
Ah,
Bates.
I never noticed that. That's a good catch.
But yeah, we've gotten off topic. I forget where we left off on
We
Carrie.
left off, we were talking about John Travolta
John
and
Travolta.
I forget his girlfriend's character's names, their
Um,
toxic relationship.
not
Um,
Shirley. He calls her Chucky as a nickname, but um, Darn it, she's the one that put everyone up to the whole prank against Carrie.
Yeah, which really sucks because the one girl was trying to help when she tried to
Yeah,
do the
so
to yeah, to try to make her prom queen. Which another aside about that, I hate the practice of having a prom queen or having a homecoming queen in America. I hate that. Um, I did work at a school one time where they kind of flipped that on its head, which was really cool. I worked at this school in Connecticut called Eli Whitney Tech, and
Mhm,
for their prom, what they did is they gave all the students as they entered balloons, and at a certain point in the night, they would pop their balloons, and whoever had the the a little um it was like a almost the size of like a what a fortune looks like inside of a fortune cookie.
mhm,
Inside of it, that's who prom king and queen would be. And I love that idea because it's just so random. And I
mm.
remember the first year that they did that, um, there was a young lady there that she had Down syndrome. And she actually won. She got the balloon. I don't know whether they orchestrated that because it's a possibility that somebody could have known which balloon had it in there and gave it to her. But
Mhm.
either way, if it was just random and she got it, I think that's awesome. I like that idea better than the popularity contest thing.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Especially because all of that popularity nonsense in high school. There's a lot of people that would like to go to those parties that never got invited.
Hmm.
Let me see. They tried to make serious movies, but they realized they made a bigger turnover for schlock.
Oh, I can imagine because schlock doesn't cost a lot of money. So the lower your overhead, the bigger the profit margin can be.
Hmm. Well, not just that. Like people like myself, I watch bad movies on purpose.
Oh yeah, I
So
do
I
too.
mean, they definitely get us in there, even though we are cinephiles.
Hmm.
But see, I'm not embarrassed to admit I watch bad movies. That's a lot of what my channel is built on.
Hmm.
Bad movies, old movies. I very rarely review anything that's current.
Yeah, and now I'm not going to really review anything that's current. Other than I still have a blackening review that I need to post. So
Ah,
I'm what I'm trying to do, I had to think about how as YouTubers, how do we support the actors and the writers during their strike? And it's kind of hard to determine what to do because on the one hand, part of me doesn't want to review any of the newer movies because I don't want to give the film companies more promotion. But at
mhm,
the same time, I don't want that to backfire on the actors. I don't want them to say, "Oh, well, your movie failed, so you're not gonna get this anymore." So it's a delicate balance. Like, do you continue to do what you're doing as a YouTuber, or how's the best way to support the actors? So I've been trying to just lean more towards like the independent features and the
mhm,
old movies that I love to review because there's so many, especially when I was talking earlier about slashers. There's so many unsung slasher movies that I'd like to talk about, but I definitely am going to talk about The Blackening because we don't get a whole lot of black horror released into theaters. We have a lot that's released direct to video on streaming. We have a lot, especially on Tubi, but not so much in the movie theaters. And a part of me does want to talk about the Barbie movie because it's a female director, and
mhm.
that's also kind of unfortunately still a rarity.
I've wanted to watch that movie so bad. I don't know if it's on available on demand, like streaming from home. That's the only way I'm going to watch it while it's still new.
Hmm.
Yeah, I very rarely take trips to the theater because Uber costs, and then going to like the Alamo Draft here to buy drinks and food and then watch
Oh
the
yeah,
movie.
it's too expensive. It's too
Yeah.
expensive, and also people don't know how to act anymore. I hate when you go to the theater and someone is on their phone the whole time. It's like you bought a ticket so you can sit there and text the whole time. Like that's so annoying to
Yeah.
me.
Well, Alamo Draft House, like if you do that there, they will kick you out. They
Oh, they
enforce
they don't they don't kick anyone out in Orlando. I don't know if you saw, just 2 days ago, there was a fight in the movie theater because someone was sitting in someone else's seat.
it. Mhm.
A couple was sitting in the when you go online, you buy your ticket and you pick out your seat.
Oh
And a
yeah.
gentleman came in and asked them if they could move out of his seat, and they beat him up. and the couple looks like they're late 20s, and the man was in his 60s that they beat up.
Oh, Jesus.
And I'm just like, I don't want
That's
those type of
embarrassing.
issues.
Like I thought assigned seating, like ordering your own seat would be make things easier because no one gets mixed up.
Yeah, but apparently some people just decide they're going to take whatever seat they want. It's like the culture. Certain things in American culture are devolving, like as far as how people treat each other, and that's not good to see.
Well, that was also part of our Megan discussion is just people, same as you say, they just don't
Hmm.
know how to behave anymore.
Yeah.
We're all used to our electronics and we're just desensitized to whatever being human is.
Hmm. And our law enforcement is more preoccupied with trying to bust people for non-violent offenses. They're still preoccupied with trying to bust everybody on weed. But when people act out violently, they don't want to do anything. These people are getting elderly people are getting beat up. You don't want to do anything. You're more worried about the kid that has a dime bag on him.
It's like, dude, if it's Delta 8, let the stoner go. Let
Yes, the
it go.
stoner's not going to hurt anybody. He's just gonna chill by himself. Like I'll tell you something. The worst thing that I ever did while smoking was stop at a stop sign and wait for it to change green, which is never gonna happen because stop sign. The worst thing I ever did. And that's when I decided, oh, I should never do that again. Not gonna
Oh,
smoke and drive.
I have my silly stories. Like
Hmm.
I was smoking with somebody once, and they for some reason got this goofy idea. They ducked their head because they were so cold. They ducked their head into their jacket, and they were trying to talk out of their sleeve.
See, that's harmless.
Well, and that's the whole thing. Like when you're on something, you don't realize how silly you look.
Hmm.
But later on, it kind of makes a good story to tell.
Yes.
But
Oh,
yeah, the only nice prom scene I remember is in the Buffy the Vampire Slayer, where they give Buffy the glitter umbrella and the award as class protector. It made me tear up after all the shite she went through.
oh, is that from the TV show? Because I only saw the movie. I didn't really watch the TV show, but
Yeah,
I
that's
love
the
the movie.
Buffy
Hmm.
TV show. I think that was one of like the last episodes because
Hmm.
they noticed that she was the one helping them.
That's nice. For the younger viewers, Buffy the Vampire Slayer inadvertently was inspired by um
The movie.
the well, not just the movie, but uh the writer for the movie was inspired by the teenage cheerleader from Night of the Comet.
Hmm. Really?
Yes. He just changed her from fighting zombies to fighting vampires. But he really loved that character. I like that character too because it kind of subverts expectations.
She's spunky.
Hmm.
Oh yeah, and did you see the comment about Barbie on Saturday Night Fever? What I'm afraid that the message will get lost. Like,
SNF.
I'm not sure what SNF is.
I don't. Oh, Saturday Night Fever.
Oh, okay.
People remember the dancing and not the message. Yes, that's true. Saturday
Hmm.
Night Fever was a much deeper movie than just, oh, this guy dances well. It talked a lot about how you could parallel it to Carrie in a way, because both characters feel outcast. They feel stuck. They feel like society is passing them by. Um, Saturday Night Fever also injects what is the term I'm looking for is intersectionality.
Hmm.
There are parts of Saturday Night Fever that do talk about how the Latinos were being treated in the city, how the Black people were being treated in the city, um, and it's just done in a very matter of fact way. Like this is the way things are right now in 1977.
Hmm.
Um, it's a much deeper movie and about him feeling like um, the only time he can feel good about himself is when he's dancing, because he works as I think it's I'm trying to think of how you would call this
Is it
position.
like a warehouse or?
It's like a hardware store. It's like
Oh,
in
okay.
today, it's today's version of if you worked at Home Depot. Like
Oh,
back then, they had like mom and pop hardware stores. So he worked at the hardware store, and he would have to like deliver paint and have people talk down to him because he's considered service industry. It also talked about classism. they talked more about the classism in the sequel and Staying Alive, but the classism was alluded to in Saturday Night Fever. It's about so many things other than just dance, and that's
Mhm.
I can compare that to Carrie because Carrie's about so many other things than just horror, and that's why it kind of irritates me when people talk about movies like, oh, Get Out and Hereditary. They're bringing new elevated horror, and it's like,
Really?
no, horror has always been about stuff. It's
Well,
always talking about things.
see, to me, elevated horror is just a weird term because in my day, I remember we used to call it highbrow horror. Now
Mhm.
it's elevated.
Yeah.
It's the same
I
nonsense, just
yeah,
different name.
I feel like people who use the term elevated horror are just people who want to say that they don't like horror movies, but they wanna call the horror movies that they do like something else, instead of
Uh,
just saying, "Hey, I didn't think I liked horror, but I liked these." You know?
I
It's
mean,
easier to just admit to yourself that you like horror and that
oh, I think you froze.
sorry. Some of the people that say they don't like horror, it's usually followed by, "Oh, it's just people getting slashed," and it's like, no, that's one subgenre of horror, and even
Yeah,
some slasher movies can be about something other than just slashing. So I balk when I hear that term elevated horror because horror is a
I don't
lot.
like it.
Even you go
But
back to Alien. Alien in large part is about sexism. They didn't listen to Ripley. Every step of the way, when she told them that you need to decontaminate or you need to isolate or you need to do these things because this is what we do, what the practice is of us doing this. This is why we do this, to keep ourselves safe. And all the dudes were like, ah, fuck what you're talking about. We're just gonna do this. And then nothing happened because you didn't listen to her. And then now she's got to come and save everybody's ass or save her own ass initially because you
well,
guys didn't
screw
listen to her.
everybody else. She needs to save herself.
Yeah. But to this comment, did you see my comment about Barbie and Saturday Night? I did not. I'm gonna scroll up.
I didn't see it.
Uh,
When a stranger calls, when a stranger kills is the last one I saw.
yeah, I didn't see. Then there's a Gatorade, and then let's
Transformers,
scroll back down.
Transmorphers.
Um, I'll go through the new ones. Mystic Mac says, "Hello, ladies in chat. What's up, Mystic Mac?" And then Tony Man says, "I remember I cracked up at a Subway because the mayo squirter sounded like a fart when the dude was making my sandwich." Okay. Kelly Maroney, yes, JJMP, that is the actress' name that plays the cheerleader on Night of the Comet. There was a few other horror movies she's in, but in real life, she's very, very friendly. I have interacted with her on Twitter before, and she was really friendly. And everyone that has met her at horror conventions has said that she's a very sweet person in real life. Same with Barbara Crampton, very, very sweet individual. Um, Mystic Mac also asked, "Do you think the main guy in Carrie had her best interest, or do you think he was in on the gag the whole time?" To this day, I am not sure because there's certain ways he acts during the film where I think that he really wants to help Carrie, and then there's other times where I think he might be in on the gag. To this day, I
um,
would love to ask the screenwriter or even Stephen King. Yeah.
I would have to go by what Stephen King wrote in the book. Is during the prom, um, I think his name is Tommy Ross.
Mhm.
He starts. He says it's the narrative says it for him, but it says that he fell in love with Carrie, but he was still in love with Sue.
Mm.
So during the course of the prom, just that one date when he was asked to take her out, he did grow to feel something more for her.
Good, good, good. I didn't remember that. See, I should have reread it then.
No,
JJMP says
where are we?
there is going all the way back to Night of the Living Dead 1968. Yes, very much so, because Night of the Living Dead was it spoke about more than one thing because the impetus of the zombies was due to, I want to say, I could be mistaken, forgive me if I'm misspeaking, but I want to say they said something about an atomic bomb or some type of environmental threat is what started there being zombies in Night of the Living Dead, and then how it ends with um with Dwayne Jones' character being shot in a doorway, and it leaves you feeling like, did the police know he wasn't a zombie? Did they shoot him because they thought he was a zombie, or did they shoot him because he was a black man coming out of the house? And it leaves that open to interpretation. But it being 1968, when
Hmm.
at the time it's released, you know what the implication there is.
Oh, and then facts, Lady Sasha. Horror is one of the most important genres in film.
Yes.
It does touch on multiple subjects. I haven't seen like, and I could be wrong, I just don't watch romantic comedies, but I don't think they have subgenres.
I can't answer that question because I don't watch romantic comedies either, unless they're like from the 80s. Like when I mentioned Mannequin earlier, I think that would be considered a romantic comedy. Um, but like current day romantic comedies, I don't watch, or even
No.
like the last one I probably watched was like what I said earlier, something about Mary. Like it has to be kind of slapstick for me to really like it as a comedy.
Yeah, it does. I know like early 2000s was the last time I stopped watching
Hmm.
rom-coms, and that's just because one of my friends was really in. Oh, yeah, one of my friends was really into them, and that's what she always wanted to go to the theater to see.
Hmm.
And
Now
it
I
was,
will watch bro comedies. Like I like Step Brothers. I
yeah,
like Talladega Nights. Like they're just so
I
silly.
enjoy those more than rom-coms.
Yeah.
But yeah, I eventually just said to her, "Look, I'm not dating you. Can we watch a different type of movie?"
Hmm.
And if one girl has to say that to another girl, that has to be bad.
Hmm.
I'm like, okay, Frankenstein, Dracula, Wolfman, Carnival of Souls, too many good horror classics. Yeah,
Hmm.
I love Carnival of Souls, and even that one's a very smart movie. It's not just about some woman who thinks that she, came back from the dead or is being haunted by the devil. It touches on multiple things, whether it's psychological or just paranoia, her own personal trauma. There's a lot going on in that movie also. Slipknot fan says hello.
Hey, Slipknot fan.
Okay, and then never mind, it was the same post as before. I had to restart YouTube. It's gone forever. Oh,
It's
that's
not gone forever. You can retype it. Just type it in again.
it'll be the first time for everybody.
Yeah.
Let me see. I saw Carrie a long time ago. I remember a few things about it.
Mhm.
Let me see. What about the theory of Sarah killed everyone in The Descent and not cave vampires? I haven't
Uh,
seen that one in a long time.
I didn't know that that was a theory.
Well, I believe it's because they never found the creatures that she was talking about,
Hmm.
and there was no other way of explaining why everyone else is dead and she's alive.
Yeah. Well, it depends on which ending you see, because the original ending, well, I shouldn't say original. The ending that was given to UK audiences is that she didn't survive, or she never made it out. She was in there in the cave at the end of the movie. But the American audiences, we got a version that showed her crawling up out of it and being able to escape. So I
Yeah.
don't know what was the intended true
Uh,
ending, since there was two endings.
Americans are weird about happy endings. They always want things to just wrap up nicely.
Hmm.
And it's like, are you people like not aware that things don't always happen that way?
Hmm. I think a part of it is in our, well, I can't speak for past, but right now I think people want more of a happy ending, which also I'm thinking why the this also goes into why I think the Barbie movie is very popular right now. I think that as Americans we tend to ignore our trauma.
Yeah.
Not only this being taboo and people not wanting to talk about it, but also this national thought process of always saying that we're the best, we're the greatest, even when things aren't the best and the greatest right now. Like
Mm-mm.
people should probably acknowledge that
Far from.
yeah, that we have gone through and are still going through a collectively traumatic experience. A pandemic is a traumatic experience.
Hmm.
And I think that's why people are like, Yeah, I wanna see the Barbie movie because it's bright, it's colorful, it reminds me of a
It's a
time in my life
change. Yeah.
where things were better.
I'm like, I'm glad I finally get to see a Barbie movie in my lifetime. When I was a kid,
Mhm.
I had wished this movie existed.
Mhm.
Better late than never. I
Yes. And that's who it's
always think
really
it's
for. Like, a lot of people are like, "Oh, I don't why are they putting all these adult issues in the Barbie movie?" We're the
hello.
ones who play with Barbies. You talk to Generation Alpha, they don't really play with Barbies. Even with, Generation Z, my younger sister is Generation Z, and I remember, her toys most of her toys did things, and I remember we gave her a Cabbage Patch doll, and she was probably, like, 3 or 4, and she set the doll on the ground, it
Uh-oh.
didn't move. So then she squeezed its hand. It didn't say anything. So then she squeezed its stomach. and then she looked at us and she said, "It doesn't do anything." and that's from the perspective of a person who was born in 1997. For to them, toys do things. They move, they talk, they do
Yeah.
this doesn't do anything. So obviously it's not
Called
really for
imagination.
them, it's for us who grew up with it, and those of us that came before even Gen X, because remember Barbie came out in 1964. So even, younger boomers are going to remember the mythos of Barbie more so than Generation Z or Generation Alpha. I don't think they're even going to be into it like that. And then they had Bratz dolls too. I think during the time
Yeah.
that Gen Z came through, the Bratz dolls were probably a little bit more um, popular
They were a
than.
little more grown up, I think.
Yeah. And when I go to the store now, I see more Monster High dolls than I see Barbie. And I think the
I,
Monster High dolls are pretty cool, but I just think that the Barbie movie's for us. Sorry, I'm just gonna say that.
yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, I'll agree. Oh, let me see. Um, it was a Venus probe bringing
Like,
bacterium that had brought back the dead. Side note, I'm sick of folks saying, why does new horror have to be woke? Yes, I want to punch them in the jaw and break their
mhm.
teeth. Um, Guys, horror was always tackled social issues. Yeah.
Yes. When I watch horror movies now, like especially if I watch old horror movies, I have a habit of saying to my sister or saying to my friend, whoever I'm watching it with, when we're watching a really old horror movie and they say something like, just recently I had put in a clip from Return of the Living Dead when the guy's like, "We gotta call somebody, call the cops," and the guy's like, "No, the cops are just gonna kick our ass."
Yeah. No
I have a
kidding.
habit of now, whenever there's scenes like that, even if it's a 50s, 60s horror movie, there's scenes like that, I look at my sister, my friend, and I go, woke bullshit. Because I just picture those people watching these old horror movies and not realizing horror has been saying things for decades.
Years. Yeah. But I don't know, like for some reason it's people just think horror is just one thing, and I guess those
Mhm,
are just the people that never really took the time for it.
mhm.
Like I've run across a few videos on YouTube and someone saying, "This is my first time watching whatever." And I hate horror movies. Why'd you have to say that? I'm not watching your video now.
Mhm. And it's sad when people don't, um or maybe I'm wondering, does it come from being sheltered? Because I know for Gen X, us being the latchkey generation, we were often left to our own devices. We were left to, you know, be home alone. So we had access to things without having to ask, like whatever's on television is on television. So I wonder if it comes from being sheltered and also growing up in a digital age where your parents can put parental. I came through at a time before parental controls. By the time parental controls came out, I was like 15 years old. So at that point,
Yeah.
it's like, what's the point now? But there was
Too
no
old
parental
for 'em.
controls. And so I wondered, did that affect what they were able to see? And then also the difference in their children entertainment versus our children entertainment. I noticed with my youngest sister, and watching the things that she watched, when I would babysit her, she's watching Camp Rock, she's watching Hannah Montana, That's So Raven, in the movies were like the Hannah Montana movie, they were pretty sanitized. And I think back of what I watched when I was little and
Mhm.
when we saw The Wiz, um, The Neverending Story, Labyrinth. The Dark Crystal. These were children's movies, but they still had scary elements in them. Like there were
Yeah.
these little things that were just a little bit of scare for the kids. And I think
Yeah.
that's important. I think it's important for kids to feel scared sometimes because it helps them overcome it. It's almost like a muscle that you build.
Yeah. It's kind of like you don't have to always hold their hand and guide them. Let them
Mhm.
figure their own way out.
Mhm.
Like I mean, to me it's nowadays, like by today's standards it wouldn't fly, but Munchies was marketed as a family film, and
Mhm.
the cover is a woman in red spoof with the two little munchies looking up the woman's dress, and
Mhm.
one has a beer, one has a cigarette,
Yeah.
and that's a family film.
Mhm.
In the 80s it was.
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
always
they
bring this
even
up,
go
but
with,
I was taken to see Poltergeist because it was PG.
oh, I like Poltergeist.
Yes, I love it.
And that one was, yeah, for me at that time, like, yeah, this is scary, but I'll still watch it.
Mhm. And then there's certain things that are unintentionally scary, like Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I think most people would say it wasn't a scary movie, but to me, as a child, when that little kid got sucked through the doggy door, I was so scared. I was so scared of the aliens. But then they brought him back at the end of the movie. They brought the little boy back. Oh, we got to. Oh, where did we leave off in the comments? Because
Let me see. Oh, Eternal Sunshine. Sorry. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind is my favorite romantic dramedy. I like that one.
I have not seen that one yet, but I've heard good things.
Yeah, and even that one is layered. Like it's not just a regular, like comedy, whatever. Like I'm so depressed, I lost my boyfriend, girlfriend. I
Hmm.
like how it talks about eternal sunshine of the spotless mind. Like those two people apparently, like their relationship didn't work out between them, so they literally went to like this clinic to have memory of that person erased, only for the both of them to just wind up meeting each other again.
Hmm. Nice. I like that concept.
Hmm.
There's one fruit fly in here that's bothering me.
Okay, and then recently I saw Faust, directed by F.W. I know I'm going to mispronounce that, Marnau,
That sounds right to me.
who also directed Nosferatu. I think it's a must-see masterpiece of a movie. I still haven't seen that, but I have seen Nosferatu.
I'm gonna write that down. Faust, 1926, because I haven't seen that one. Okay, I'll look for that. Thank you, Slipknot fan.
Okay, and then I did say you spoke about it. I cleverly placed it in my post about Saturday Night Fever. The movie is called The Descent into a Cave or Into Madness.
Oh, okay. So, I think I answered it, but I think you might have been, and you said you had to restart your computer. So, we did talk about whether, you asked whether how we felt about whether the main character actually killed her mates that she went on the trip with, or whether the creatures really existed. And I said that it depends on which version of the movie you saw, because the movie was released with two endings. One ending with her crawling out from underneath the cave system, and the other ending with her never getting out of the cave system.
Okay. Oh, and then here we go. Monster High is super popular in the shop at the moment. Essentially, the alternative adult collectors, like male, female. Yes.
Mm.
Yeah, a lot of people collect those. Yeah, that's true.
Hmm.
And yeah, I've even seen displays like other YouTubers. They have displays of where they unbox them and put them up. But then I wondered myself, well, why would you take it out of the box? Leave it in the
Yeah,
box.
because
Put
I
it in the case.
these two have never been out of their boxes. Chucky or Annabelle. They A part of me wants to do an unboxing video, but then I don't want to open the box.
You're better off not opening it if you're not sure.
All right.
Let me see. Don't get me wrong, I love He-Man, but I reckoned many a lad had his sexual awakening because of them toys.
Oh, because the Monster High toys. Yeah. And you know what? This is an aside, since he had mentioned He-Man. One of the criticisms of Barbie is that she is a representation of unrealistic body standards.
Hmm.
But so is He-Man. You
Yes.
give little boys this doll whose biceps are freaking huge.
Well, not to mention Ken, like he either
Hmm.
has a weirdly misshapen nothing there, or he's
Hmm.
just wearing underpants.
Yes.
I don't know. Toys are funny. I remember in '84 in the animated Transformers movie, a robot died, and Optimus Prime said, "God damn it," and kids lost their mind while watching it. I'm watching what kids lost their mind while I'm watching The Howling and movies like that.
Mm.
Yeah, the '80s were funny like that. Like they would cuss and they would do stuff. Nowadays, it's just, no, I'm too delicate.
Hmm. And the thing is, I don't think the kids are saying they're too delicate. It's the parents that are trying to treat the kids like they're too delicate. And it's like, it's it's incongruous in a world where these kids have to do active shooter drills. You can't try to raise them in a bubble when they're dealing with real things that are worse than what's on television.
Hmm. Yeah, I
If
mean,
anything, you should find out or monitor how they're doing psychologically, being that they have to do these active shooter drills, or that they had to quarantine for 2 years and couldn't go to prom and couldn't do this and that because of COVID. These things psychologically affect people, and everyone just kind of pushes it down like everything's fine, everything's fine. It's
yeah,
okay that things are not fine. It's not okay to ignore how you're feeling. It's very important to pay attention to how you're feeling, and to know that it's okay not to be okay during times like
yeah, but
this. So,
I mean, adults stifle it so much, and we pretend
yes.
so much for ourselves that we don't realize that the younger ones, the children or nieces, nephews, whatever, they're learning that behavior from us.
Hmm.
Oh, where am I? Oh, Bronson Wright Wolf. I hope I said that right. Says, "How's it's going?"
We're doing all right. How you doing, Bronson? And Tony Man says that I'm going to open up Annabelle, leave the room, and come back to miss me written all over the walls and ceiling. But let's go towards wrap up, because we need to talk about the climactic ending of Carrie.
Yeah, we've shied,
I
slide.
I love our conversations because we get a lot done. So
Yeah.
how did you feel about the ending?
I mean, the last time I watched it was, I want to say 3 or 4 years ago, and I just felt really sad. But I mean, actually coming back fresh, and it's, just watching it off of even just BS that I'm dealing with now, it's like,
Hmm.
I felt like, no, Carrie was very justified for what she did. There's no reason you can say, she got what she deserved, or we're going to get after her for doing this.
Hmm.
I think she had every right to do what she did. It's like she'd been pushed so much throughout her entire life. I mean, it's kind of like eventually it was someone else's turn to just eat it.
Hmm. And as a child, when I watched Carrie, I remember feeling bad for some of the people, because I'm like, well, she's attacking everybody, not just the people that mess with her. But as an adult, I can look back on it and say everybody is at fault. The people who stood
They
by
let
and
it
watched
happen.
other people torture you are also at fault because they stood by and did nothing.
Yeah, they let it happen. So
Hmm.
that in itself is a crime as well.
Hmm. I like I I would say the execution in the 1970s. I think it was 75. Yeah, the 1975 version, or 76. um I like that better than in the remake, both remakes, because I really kind of didn't like the Chloe Moretz remake. It wasn't horrible, but it wasn't good either. It was just okay. But I
Yeah.
like the final. I don't know how to describe it. Why De Palma's prom scene was more impactful to me,
I
even
think
though
it's
they had less special effects, less, CGI. I don't know.
I think it's the way the prom was shot, like especially when Tommy and Carrie are dancing, and she tries to kiss him and she apologizes. So
Hmm.
then he gives her a real kiss, and they're just dancing together, and they're just like swirling together, and then the
Hmm.
camera starts to spin around them. So it's like he wants the audience to feel her anxiety, like she's in this
Hmm.
place, she's doing new things, something she's never done. And I think that's what adds to the tension of the film, is just that we're
Yeah.
reminded, like, hey, it's a beautiful moment, but also keep in mind, like, Carrie's been through a lot. They even laughed at her when she walked through the doors.
Yeah, and that moment that she has with him also gives her a feeling of normalcy. For the first
Yes.
time, she feels like just a normal teenager, and then it's taken away just that quickly with the whole pig's blood thing. And I think that's what they kind of failed in. As much as I kind of liked Angela Bettis as Carrie, I really like her as an actress. I w- I haven't rewatched this since it first came out, so hopefully my memory doesn't fail me. But I feel like there was a part of that movie where there was a recording, like she was recorded having intercourse or something, and they released the video or something like that. And I was like, I like the subtlety of the original with just the kiss rather than, you
Hmm.
know, going that far into a recording being released. It's
Oh, that's the rage.
okay, so I'm mixing them up. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
I
didn't like that part of the rage. I felt like that was,
unnecessary.
yeah, just doing too much.
Yeah.
Uh,
Um, I forgot Mina Savari was in that one. Well, actually, I didn't know who she was at the time,
mhm,
so I think she probably might have been starting out. But I will admit I do own all of the carries, the original,
mhm,
both remakes, and the Rage, which I consider the Rage to be another remake, just more
mhm,
modernized.
mhm. Um, oh, also, I think we'd be remiss if we didn't bring up one of the things in Carrie that became a trend, and
Hmm.
I credit Carrie for this. Brian De Palma's Carrie for this. The final jump scare with the dream sequence of the grave and that final jump scare. So many movies after Carrie tried to capture that moment. Even Nightmare on Elm Street with pulling the mom through the door. I credit Carrie with inspiring that.
Well, Carrie, like not Carrie, Sissy Spacek, she actually did that herself. They wanted a stunt person to do it, and she insisted on reaching up from under that grave herself. But
That is
the
great.
dream sequence, I know it was filmed in backwards, just to make it look so, like out of the ordinary,
Hmm.
very, mythical.
Hmm.
But the giveaway is the red beetle in the background going backwards.
Hmm.
It's kind of like that one car driving through the landscape in Lord of the Rings.
Hmm. Or those Starbucks cups in Game of Thrones.
Oh gosh.
I can't believe nobody caught that. All right,
Uh,
let's hit up the chat one more time.
oh, I skipped one. Let me see. Lady Sasha, do you plan on reselling Chucky? If not, and the box is collector friendly, then do an unboxing and put him back in when you're done. That's what I do with my collector friendly box figures.
Yeah, I can do that. Another thing that I found that pro tip, if you want to do an unboxing but you really want to keep your things very pristine, you can use a steamer like what you use to uh steam your clothes, but you have to be very, very careful so that you don't warp the cardboard. But you can use just a little bit of steam, or you could take a hot washcloth and hold it on the tape, and the tape will loosen, and then you can peel it up without damaging the boxing. You have to be very, very, very slow, patient, and careful with it, but you can do that, and then you'll be able to rebox it, and it should look fairly nice. This is from back when I used to have an eBay shop, resale shop, so I used to sell things on eBay, and I took very, very uh, meticulous care to try to keep things in like really, really super good condition. I would always post that the item has been opened before so that it's not, I would warn against not being completely honest in your listings. But you can show the photo that yes, this has been opened before, but as you can see, it's in pristine condition. So
See, I that's a lot easier than what I was doing. I was using a hair dryer on low.
yeah, see that still heats it up. It's the whole thing is just heating up the tape so that it the glue comes undone. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I actually like the hair dryer idea better because then you don't have to worry about the water or of the steam warping any of the yeah, the hair dryers are actually a better idea.
Yeah.
All right. Bronson has written something.
Oh, really quick. The harsh truth. Hello, my friends.
Hey, Harsh
Hello
Truth.
and howdy. Okay, and then Bronson. In Delirious, Eddie Murphy talks about how black people would never be seen in a haunted movie because they would leave if anything supernatural occurs. That is one of his stand-up routines.
Yes, I
Oh
remember.
yeah,
I
yeah.
remember that.
I
But that's
forget.
within question because as a black person, I have lived in a haunted place before. I did leave eventually, but it was because I had a lease, so I couldn't leave right away, and I didn't have the money to move. So sometimes not having the money to move. But I stayed away from that place so much. It was I have to tell that story one day. One day
I turned off my
I'll have to
camera by
do a story
mistake.
time about the haunted apartment I lived in. It was a basement apartment, and it was in a very, very old building in New Britain, Connecticut. I'll have to tell that story. Very, very haunted place, and I used to stay out all the time. I would only come home to sleep and shower because it was so freaking creepy. But yeah, typically if we have the money, we're out of there. But if not, you might have to deal with it for a while until you can move. And we'll talk to the ghosts. like, like sometimes you'll be in a haunted, you live in a haunted place, and your ghost starts doing something. It's like, oh, so you want to fuck with me tonight? Why don't you leave me the hell alone? I just want to go to sleep. Stop that shit. We will definitely talk to the ghosts.
Reminds
Let
me
me
of those
see. Oh,
memes like,
my screen reloaded. I see Fomicky Latte says the ending made me laugh.
oh,
I'm
we
I'm thinking that she's talking about the jump scare. Toteman says, I always wondered if they truly needed the hand scene at the end. I'd have her just walk away and fade to black. Also, I felt bad for her, and I understand as to why she did what she did.
I just think they did it to let you know that like, it's not over. Like even Sue Snell, now she has this
Hmm.
this trauma that she's dealing with, and I think it's meant to be symbolic of that. Like, okay, Carrie's gone, but it's not over,
Hmm.
which makes sense because it was Sue's dream.
Hmm.
Um, I forgot what else they touched on, but I know in the scene, the mom, the character playing the mom, she isn't yelling Sue, she's yelling, I want to say Sarah.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
So it just sounded, I mean, to me, it sounded that way. Oh, I just wanted to get back really quick to the delirious comment,
Hmm.
Eddie Murphy. He did later wind up playing a character in Haunted House, though, the Haunted
Hmm.
Mansion.
Yes, he did.
That's kind of funny how things work out, but
Hmm.
let me see, where did I leave off? Have you ever seen 1 Hour Photo, Insomnia, or Yes, Night of the Listener is a good one.
I
If
haven't
so, what?
seen.
They're all Robin Williams films.
I'm gonna write them down. 1 hour photo.
If so, what are your thoughts on these movies? Yeah, Robin Williams is in
Insomnia.
all of them.
Do I have that book? I think I have the book. Yeah, right there.
Oh, this one's a
This.
different
Oh, it's
Insomnia.
a different Insomnia.
It's about a serial killer.
Oh, okay. And Night Listener.
Yeah, The Night Listener is really good. Um, Insomnia is good too. 1 Hour Photo, like if you want to see um, Robin Williams be like really creepy, that would be 1 Hour Photo.
I will definitely check them out because I like Robin Williams, and I also love to see when comedic actors get to play in dramatic or horror because I think they do so well. Hey, Kubrick lovers here. Welcome to the stream.
Oh, there we are. Hey, Mac, how are things going? Um, let me see. And Lady Sasha Horrors Doggo does not agree with you. I keep hitting mute. I'm sorry. But
No, it's okay.
yeah, I mean, everybody who comes to my streams, they know to expect the puppies.
You should always tell them their name so they can say hello to the puppies too.
Well, the howling one, that is Herschel,
Hmm.
like Herschel Gordon Lewis.
I was gonna ask if you were if he was named after him. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the little one with the little screechy bark, that one is Toodles.
No, Herschel Gordon Lewis. That's the person that did Blood Feast, right?
Hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, he pretty much was the father of slasher horror.
Hmm.
No Nightmare on Elm Street, no Jason without him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that was back in I want to say the '60s when he did Blood Feast, maybe
Yeah.
68-ish. Yeah. But I
Um,
also have to give a nod to I don't know the director's name, but the person who did Dementia 13. There's a lot of things in Dementia 13 that are in current, well, not just current, but slasher movies of the '70s copied, and that was maybe 1960. But Herschel Gordon Lewis gave us the gore.
yes, the Gore King.
Yes.
Let me see. Um, but old girl in the original, her having permanent nightmares will always be messed up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like a not postpartum, PTSD.
Yes.
I can't believe I almost said postpartum.
I think that should be considered PTSD too. I think giving birth is a traumatic experience. I could see
That is why
somebody
I
having
refuse to
PTSD
do
from
it.
it.
That is just why I refuse to do it.
Same here. It scares the hell out of me. I keep telling people if I change my mind and I'm 50 and I want to have children, I'm going to adopt a teenager.
Yes,
because
I've
because I feel like it's not fair to adopt a baby at that age because you'll
uh-uh.
be too old of a parent. But a teenager, okay, then that's, you won't be too old of a parent. And also, there's so many teenagers that don't get adopted because everyone
You're
wants to
too
adopt a
old.
baby.
Yeah. See, I wouldn't mind trying a teenager. It's just the fact that you're always going to get this backlash. You're not my parent. You don't tell me what
Hmm.
to do, blah, 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 blah.
But
And
here's the
it's like,
thing: you're
why
gonna
don't you
get
just
that.
shut up and be grateful that someone got you out of there? Why
But the
didn't you
thing
think
is, you're
about
gonna
that?
get that either way, because I remember being a teenager and mouthing off to my parents, and they are my natural parents. So
Yeah.
you're gonna get that either way.
Yeah. The thing is, the teenager will outgrow it sooner than a baby will.
Hmm.
But yeah, I've considered that myself. But I'm thinking more like 5, 6 years old. I mean, I still want them to be an age where they can still enjoy me as a parent.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed to trying a teenager.
Hmm.
But right now, I just like my life the way it is.
Hmm.
um, hey, Karen, Lady Sasha. Hey, Kubrick. Hi to Marty. Hey, Knight. Oh, to take the tape off? Yeah, the
Yes, yeah.
steamer.
The steamer, or like I said, I think Kara's idea with the hair dryer is a better idea than steamer.
Yeah, I had
Kubrick
never
Lover
thought to
says
try a steamer.
that he loves your dog. The Harsh Truth says that they reviewed Kara recently. It's certainly dated now, but still a great watch. Let me write down your channel. I'd love to watch your review. The Harsh Truth.
Do I have a pen over here? Yes, I do. See, even though it's dated, I still consider it a relevant film.
Yeah, I think that the subject matter is still very relevant.
Writing the channel name down really quick.
Hmm.
Okay.
Marty says, I know that trick about the dryer. Fominky
Oh,
Latte says, like, here's a little parting gift for my friend, besties forever. Saying about the jump scare. The jump
oh
scare
yeah.
dream is a little parting gift for being my friend, besties forever.
Well, even
Um,
in the book, Carrie says to her mother, I'm going to give you a present.
mhm,
She destroys the entire town and then she walks home. She didn't have time to take the shower like she did in the movie. She just says to her mom, I've come to give you a present. Obviously, the house is still lit. The mom wants to pray with her, which is a lie.
mhm,
Her mom stabs her in the shoulder. There are no knife throwings at the mom. What Carrie does to the mom in the book is actually she slows her heart, and that's how
mhm,
she takes the life out of her.
mhm.
Ben Grimm says, "Howdy."
Mhm. Marty says, I'll probably never sell my stuff. They're my children. If the house is on fire, I'm going to be tough. Jen or my
Ah,
figures.
there
Well,
we go. Skip the
what you do
comment.
is you have Jen grab as many figures as she can, then you pick her up and carry her out.
No, you have to have an emergency backpack, clothes,
Yes.
water, food, money. And you leave your toys in there, the ones that you cherish the most. If
Mhm.
a fire happens, you're already covered. Just grab your bag and run out.
Mhm. Or they have these fire safe boxes
Oh
where you
yeah,
can buy one of those boxes and put your most treasure things in them so they can survive a fire. They say to use those, for like your birth certificate, stuff like that. That's hard to
yeah.
get.
The only the only downside is they're heavy.
Hmm.
Yeah. I don't know what I would do in a fire situation. I wouldn't make it out alive because I'd try to grab all of my pets, which they're not going to stand still for me to do in that type of a situation.
Mm.
Okay, and then Ben Grimm says, "Howdy."
Hey, Ben.
If oh, sorry, did I go too fast?
No, no, keep going.
If Kurt Cobain had passed away in a hotel fire just like Sammy Kerr did, he would be renamed Kurt Propane.
Wow. Wow.
Is that like the horror equivalent of a dad joke?
Mm.
That was funny though.
Um,
Oh my gosh, I totally saw that wrong. I'm glad I didn't read right away. Beetlejuice, Dark Shadows, Edward Scissorhands, Sleepy Hollow, and Sweeney Todd. The Demon Barber of Fleet Street would all be great movies to play at a Halloween party. Would you agree? Yes.
Only if you're talking about the original Dark Shadows. I hate the Johnny Depp version of Dark Shadows. Sorry.
It's
No.
fun. Like
Beetlejuice, yes. Edward Scissorhands, yes. I need to watch Sleepy Hollow. I haven't seen it in its entirety since the 90s or whenever it first came out. And Sweeney Todd, I love. Yeah. If you really like Sweeney Todd, I would definitely suggest that you watch The Horror of Dolores Roach on Amazon. Really, really good. Tony Man says, adopt a 15-year-old. You get 3 years, and then out to the world. See, while I do know most people feel that way, I think that you should still parent heavily into a person's early 20s. I think there's
yes.
an American approach where we like, oh, you're 18, send them out to the world, and I feel like that's not. They still need guidance. Yes, they're
Yeah.
technically an adult, but they still need guidance.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my last apartment, our neighbor was a 19-year-old, and he was always asking us for help because he didn't know how to do certain things, like
Hmm.
even just write in a form for repairs. He didn't know how to do that.
Yeah, and I think people, it's largely an American thing because I notice in outside the United States and Asia, a lot of places in UK, South America, people typically stay home until they're 27, 28 years old. And I
Yeah.
and here we're very pressed to throw people out into the world as soon as they turn 18. And I'm like, you can chill on that. It's okay to give people time to grow and
I
still
would,
offer them guidance as they move from adolescence into adulthood,
well, and
not just
that's
throw them to
the
the wolves.
no, that's the truth of it though, is that mentally women don't fully mentally mature until their 20s.
Yeah.
And for men, I'd say it's probably their 30s. I
Hmm.
forget what the statistic was.
Not even just mentally, physically, our brains don't finish developing until 25 to 27 years old.
Hmm.
So we're technically still going through puberty in our early 20s.
Yeah. And it shows for some people. Some people are still very childish at those ages.
Yep. I almost wonder if we start school too early. Like, should kindergarten really start with 7-year-olds? And should high school end when you're like 19, 20, and then college start later? I feel like maybe things should be pushed back. But then I listen to some of the Generation Alpha kids talk, and they're already 47 years old. I don't know what's going on with them. It's like, are you 10 or 47? Wow. And I don't know whether it's technology that's making them so aware so young. I don't know. It blows my
I'd
mind
say it
sometimes listening
is.
to them. Hmm?
I'd say it is. Like
Hmm.
if I'm having trouble with my TV or something and I own the manual, I know how to use it, but if I can't figure something out, all I do is just ask my nephew, here, I know you can fix it.
Hmm. Oh,
He
there's
wouldn't
been
even
times
have
when
read
I've
the
had
manual, but they just figure it out.
there's times when I've had computer issues, and I'll Google, okay, how do I fix this issue on my computer? And I find a YouTube video, and it's like a 12-year-old. Well, first you start up in safe mode, and it's like, wow, thank you.
Safe mode is always a good
Yeah.
idea. That's cute. What I would add to the party list here, though, is I do have to have my Rankin and Bass Monster Party, um, and Night of darn it, Demon Night.
Hmm.
I kept trying to say the wrong name.
My party movies would probably be Demons, the Mario Bava's Demons,
Hmm.
um, Return of the Living Dead, and let me think, what else would be a great party movie? And I'm basing these off of soundtracks, like what sounds good in a surround sound that's also very musical. And I think
Clever.
that the scores for Demons and for Return of the Living Dead
Yes,
are really, really great. Um, and fun. You know, I could I could literally dance while watching that movie.
yes.
um,
That really is a party movie.
yeah, that'd make
But
a
yeah,
great.
I would say Return of the Living Dead. I kept trying to say that while I was at the same time that I was trying to say Demon Night.
Hmm.
um, can't
You
remember
mean
what
Tales from the Crypt Demon Night?
yes.
Yes, yes, yes. Billy Zane was great in that.
Yeah, I love that. Let me see. I like all of the kitty horror also, like the Christina Ricci, Casper, the
Hmm.
Nightmare Before Christmas, even though that's more of a Christmas movie.
Hmm.
Um,
Here comes Halloween, Halloween.
oh, do you have the revamped soundtrack where it's rock bands redoing the songs?
No, I would love to hear that though.
Yeah, there's Corns on it. I know Manson's on it. I forget who else. But yeah, like there's a total redone one where just rock bands are doing
Mhm.
the score.
All right, let's see
Um,
here. Bronson White Wolf has named some more. He says Christopher Walken versus Sammy Carr, Boris Karloff versus Bela Lugosi. Those would be some interesting battles. What do you guys think?
oh gosh.
Well, it's funny as I was just watching a Christopher Walken movie last weekend. I watched The Dead Zone. I really enjoyed that. Um,
That sounds awesome.
mhm. Boris Karloff versus Bela Lugosi. I feel like that is uh well, not feel like, I know that that has happened in film. What so I mean, I don't know what to say. Those are great. um, has horror watched the horror of Dolores Roach? Oh, that's a good question.
I think you recommended it to me last stream.
Hmm.
I haven't gotten around to watching it yet, but I do want to.
There's two versions. The first version of the horror Dolores Roach is on Spotify. There's also the on YouTube. The first season of it on YouTube. It is they're calling it a podcast, but it really is a radio teleplay.
Ah,
So you listen to it. It's almost like how they were in the 1940s, where you would listen to the radio teleplays. So it only has 8 episodes and they're about 22 minutes each. The Horror of Dolores Roach, and then this year they made a Netflix version, which is the visual telling of it. Almost like a, I guess it's just a series format. Still 22 to 28 minutes each episode, but it's pretty good.
Hmm.
The acting is great in it, and the storyline is pretty good. And I compare it to Sweeney Todd.
Hmm. Well, it's definitely worth checking out then.
Hmm. And bonus points because it's one of the few Latino horror thriller uh, properties.
Huh.
It takes place in New York, and the characters are mostly Puerto Rican and Dominican, but I still think that it's relatable to other groups of people. But it's very very New York. I love that.
Hmm. Okay, and then Tim Burton is a hit or miss as a filmmaker for me. He can be.
Hmm.
Um, I loved Big Fish though, and I think that's the only brightly colored film he's ever made.
Yeah.
Everything else is usually like dark, even though it's chipper.
Well, Beetlejuice has some bright moments in it, especially when they go to the waiting room for the recently deceased. It's pretty bright, and the sandworm realm, and also Beetlejuice's red wedding suit.
I love that suit. um, well, I meant like Big Fish is more like pastels.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. But Big Fish was a great movie. I did
I
enjoy
liked
that
that
too.
one. No one really talks about it.
Kubrick Lover says, my cousins say Kurt Cobain was murdered. You mentioned Kurt Cobain. I'm a huge Nirvana fan. Yes, there is a lot of speculation as to the real cause of his death. Him
A
and
lot of
Tupac,
people,
both of them, there's a lot of things that don't add up.
well, even that documentary on Netflix, they were accusing Courtney Love of having killed him.
Hmm.
And I'm like,
I
I hope they got sued because there's no proof.
Yeah, and I don't think she did it. If anything, the person who really did do it probably tried to set it up to make her look like she did it, because that would be a brilliant way to cover your tracks, is to make it look like someone else did it. Um,
Yeah. Um,
um,
but no, I don't think she killed him.
no, I don't
And I don't
either.
think she's as heartless as they portrayed her to be.
No.
Um, are you ladies checking out Last Voyage of the? Oh yes, I want to see that one so badly. Last Voyage of the Demeter.
Yes,
Um,
I'm gonna check that out when it comes to streaming, because Javier Botet is playing Dracula, and I love him and everything. Ever since Wreck, because Javier Botet played La Niña Medeiros, I think is her name, the creature in the attic, basically. He
mhm.
also played on Crimson Peak. He played Mama. He's like an all star for me. So when I
Okay,
found out he was playing Dracula, I'm like I'm here for that.
I've probably seen him not knowing who he is. Then,
Hmm.
yeah, I want to see Voyage, and then I forget what's that other movie that Marty recommended to me. It's I want to say Norwegian. It's by those guys that did. I always forget the freaking name. It's that giant evil Santa Claus movie. Handle with Care. Is that the one?
I don't know. Oh, is it Rare Exports?
Yes. Okay, I said it wrong. Rare Exports. Yeah, it's by those same guys.
Oh, good, good, good. I liked Rare Exports.
Yeah, I the name of it doesn't stick with me though. Let me see. I have a fun fact to share with you about The Shining. In order to get Jack Nicholson irritated while playing his character, he was fed cheese sandwiches for 2 weeks. He hates cheese sandwiches.
That's one way to irritate somebody and
It took two
constipate
weeks
them.
to annoy him, though. So there's something that has to do it quicker than cheese. That took 2 weeks.
Mhm.
Dreadful darkness, hear my cry. Bring back the one who cannot die. That is a Tim Curry quote. That is my favorite quote of his own.
What movies, or is that, um, wait. Is that from The Nightmare Before Christmas? I'm trying to picture what movie. I know I've heard it before, but I can't place where I heard it. Eric Cartman's in here. Hey.
Ah,
He says, "Have you heard Ben Stiller is doing a Stephen King movie? It's called Rat from Kings If It Bleeds novella, and from Kings If It Bleeds novella, and he's set to direct, produce, and star in a project." I have not heard that, but I look forward to it because as we've seen with the director of the new Halloween franchise coming from comedy, um, the director from that did oh gosh, I'm blanking on the name. The movie with the alien creatures that you can't make noise or else they kill you. With the family on the farm.
I haven't seen that one.
Oh, what's the name of that movie? That was also um, done by a writer director that comes from comedy. Um, and then of course Jordan Peele. He had come from a comedy background before he did Get Out and Us. He
Hmm.
was doing like Key and Peele and stand up comedy.
His comedy was great, also.
I don't know why I cannot remember the name of this movie. It's fairly recent, and there was a sequel to it. It was a family living on a farm, and they had a daughter who was hearing impaired, and there was these alien creatures that you can't make any noise because they couldn't see you, but they can hear you. Somebody put in the chat what the name of that movie is because I'm blanking on it. And I actually reviewed that movie because I reviewed it with Bird Box, which was on Netflix, which was about these creatures that you couldn't look at. That's why I put them together because there's creatures that you couldn't make noise around and creatures you couldn't look at. And I remember the title Bird Box, but I can't remember the other one that was actually released in the theater. Okay, so Kubrick Lover 1972 says Dead Zone's so sad for Christopher Walken's character in the film. Martin Sheen is a harbinger of Trump. Stephen King says that character is very much like Trump. Yeah, I was reading about that last weekend after the fact because when I was watching Dead Zone, I was like, wow, this movie predicted Trump.
Oh,
and and in a way predicted DeSantis too, because they're both very similar. But I think DeSantis is even crazier than Trump was, which I didn't think was possible, but I guess so.
as long as he's not doing quote air quotes and saying fake news.
Yeah. The Harsh Truth says Burton got his start with Pee Wee's Big Adventure. Don't forget. Yes, and that was very colorful. That was a very colorful movie. I would love to watch it again. I've never seen it as an adult. I've watched it a lot when I was a kid, but I've never seen it as an adult. So I'd like to watch Pee Wee's Big Adventure again. Tony Man says it was called Soaked slash Bathed in Bleach. Okay, I'm not sure what that's referring to. Um, and then Tony Man says, Lady Shasha didn't he play the titty monster in the basement or the creature in Wreck? Javier Botet did play the creature in Wreck, but he did not play the titty monster in. I don't want to name the movie because that's like a spoiler for the movie. Because when you watch the trailer, you don't know that this movie has a monster in it, so I won't name the movie. God, I want to name the movie because it's so good, but it's a huge spoiler.
Monster in the closet.
It's not Monster in the Closet. It's a recent
Nope.
movie that had a titty monster in it. I'll take a poll. I'll ask the chat. Chat, do you want me to spoil the titty monster movie? Do you guys want to know what movie the titty monster is in?
I don't know what it is.
Let me know, and I'll say the movie if you guys say yes. Bronson says, fun fact, Robin Williams was the original choice to play Jack Torrance in The Shining. Robin Williams and Shelley Duvall worked together in Popeye. The Shining and Popeye
Yes.
both came out in 1980. Yes. You know what's interesting that has been compared to Popeye recently is the Barbie movie. Some people said that they felt that the director did a similar thing to what was done with Popeye, where Popeye had an indie director, and it that's what kind of makes it have this kind of special feeling. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. Bronson says that Tim Curry quote is from Scooby Doo and the Witch's Ghost. Thank you. See, I would not have guessed it. Eric Cartman told me the name of the movie, A Quiet Place. That's the name I could not remember.
Okay.
It was A Quiet Place that was Jim Krasinski wrote and directed it, and he comes from a comedy background. Or John. Nope. Trash Picture Show corrected me. I said Jim Krasinski. It's John Krasinski from The Office. Yes. Tony Man says a boring
A boring
place.
place.
He says spoil it. Cooper Glover says yes, and Tony Man says sure. Okay, the Monster movie um, is called. See, now I'm blanking on it.
Middle age.
No, see. Why am I blanking on the name of the movie?
I don't know, but
And
I just
I
want to.
reviewed it not too long ago.
I just want to say Titty
Uh-huh.
Monster because it sounds
Yes.
funny.
Let me check my reviews. It's like one of the last like 10 reviews I did. Barbarian. I don't know why my
Oh,
mind
okay.
blanked.
I've been
Yes.
wanting to watch that.
In the trailer for Barbarian, you think that it's just going to be like a psychological thriller, like she's knocked on the door, she says, "Hey, I reserved this Airbnb." The guy inside says, "Hey, I had this Airbnb first." And the trailer makes it look like, "Oh, he's going to torture her. He's going to lock her up and do things to her." Not at all. They both did mistakenly reserve the same Airbnb, and they get attacked by a titty monster in the basement. I won't tell you why it's the titty monster. You have to watch Barbarian yourself to find out why the monster is referred to as a titty monster. But yes, it's a monster movie. The trailer does not let you know that it's a monster movie because there's, the reveal is meant to be very shocking, but it's a monster movie. Marty,
okay.
all I needed was titty monster, and I knew that you were talking what you were talking about. Thank you. Yes.
It's a metaphor for menopause. I don't know. I'm just making it up.
We have to come back and talk about Barbarian. I'll wait till you watch it, Kara, and then we'll talk about Barbarian. But I will say this: if you liked Castle Freak, you're gonna love. Well, I won't say love. You'll like Barbarian.
Oh, okay.
It's got that kind of feel to it, and Justin Long is in it, and he typically is in pretty good horror movies. He's got a good picker for movies.
He's chooses good movies, but he always looks like a total weenie in those movies.
Yes, he always plays kind of a jerky character.
It's weird. It's like, how can you be in this really awesome film, but you still look like a dope?
Mm-hmm. In
Like,
Tusk, he played kind of a jerky character. I think probably the nicest character he played was probably in Jeepers Creeper.
yeah,
And
that was
even then,
yeah, I'd say so because even Drag Me to Hell, he was just kind of like, you nerd.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like you're the only one ruining the movie,
Mm-hmm.
which is mean, but it feels so true. Um, there's a fake comedy trailer of The Shining with Peter Gabriel's Salisbury Hill playing.
Mm-hmm. And it's on YouTube. Yeah, I like the people who re-edit movies into like this movie is a comedy or this movie is a horror, and they just kind of change a little bit of the editing and the trailer and the music, and it makes such a huge difference. But now I have to wrap it up because I'm getting hungry. It's almost 6 o'clock here, and I only ate half a breakfast, so I want to eat again, and I don't want to eat on camera.
Oh, okay, no, we're cool. I generally stop around the 2 hour mark. Yeah, we totally went over.
Oh yeah, we did great.
It's on YouTube. Yes, it doesn't stick with me. Sisu.
I saw that movie. I didn't know that was by the same people that did Rare Exports. It's good.
No
Sisu is like
spoilers. I want to watch it.
Sisu is like if John Wick had a grandfather or father. No, let me say father because I keep forgetting. John Wick's almost 60 years old. So
Yeah,
if Sisu is very much European John Wick, and it's really good.
I've been wanting to watch it ever since Marty showed me the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with Voyage of the Demeter.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and that's very nice of you to say. You guys do the best team up.
Thank you. Oh, the harsh truth wants me to spoil the titty monster. It's up to Kara. Kara, do you want to wait and watch Barbarian, or do you want me to spoil why it's called the titty monster?
Well, it already got spoiled for me, so you can just tell him it's the Barbarian movie.
Okay, it's the Barbarian movie. The reason why it's called the Titty Monster is because it does have these pendulous titties that are pretty big, and it also tries to make Justin Long drink its milk.
Ew,
And
that's
I
reason enough to watch it. Justin
yes,
Long drinks titty milk from a monster.
these are the type of horror movies I love being released in the theaters. Barbarian, um, the James Wan movie with the oh god, what was the title? Malignant. Barbarian, Malignant, Megan. These are the things I like. Make it ridiculous. Make it so ridiculous I want to watch it.
I wanted to like Malignant, but it was just too much for me.
Oh, I think the first half of it was just okay. I almost didn't make it through, but the second half when she's in the police station, that's when I feel like it really like give me more of that.
Well, I mean, especially the part where it's like crawling around with its head backwards and it's on the
Yes.
seat, and I'm like, that's too much.
That was just enough for me. I love that. And again, just like I said, if you like a Barbarian, watch Castle Freak. Malignant. You like Malignant? Watch Basket Case. These
I
go
love
together
that
for me.
case.
Now, Megan, what would I pair with Megan? What 70s or 80s movie would I pair with Megan? Because I don't think she would go exactly with Child's Play or RoboCop.
Mm-mm,
What would
not
go
at all.
well with Megan? In the comments, what would you pair, you guys? What would you pair a 70s or 80s movie? Would you pair with Megan? Oh, wait, I have one. Deadly Friend.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, I think we talked about that last time.
Mm-hmm.
I have to watch that one. I've never seen it.
I think you would like it. It's Wes Craven also.
Yeah, I've just seen like bits of it, but I've never seen it all the way through.
Mhm.
Um, oh, I think I missed one. Nice talk, you guys.
Thank you.
And then I love when you two get together. Horror is always awesome. A thumbs up emoji and is your reward.
Thank you. Well, whenever you post it's like a reward because you in your default picture you're having two thumbs up like this.
It's like that Budweiser commercial, like, hey,
Mhm.
what's up?
Mhm.
Okay, totally shows how old I am.
Oh, Marty says our next team up should review the Titty Monster.
If I can find it, then I will agree. But me and Sasha do have a few other ones planned for you guys,
Yes,
but I'm
we
not
do.
telling.
Kubrick Lover says Saw. No, I wouldn't pair Saw with Megan. Oh, he said got it wrong, and Marty says Deadly Friend,
Oh,
and
Megan
Tony,
and Short Circuit.
yeah, Short Circuit.
That'd be cute.
Marty says
Yes,
Basketball Face Crush. Yes.
yes, I know that scene.
Mm-hmm. And it's with the woman from Throw Mama from the Train,
Oh,
and
really?
Goonies too. Yeah. Castle Freak and Basket Case are great. They are.
Yeah, I would put those two together.
Mhm. The Harsh Truth asks, what is it that attracts you ladies to the horror genre?
I was introduced to it at a young age, and that's probably why.
Same. I it's always for me, I think it's hereditary because my mother likes horror. Well, she's more into science fiction even than horror, but she let us watch horror movies. And my grandmother was into horror, even my great grandmother. My great grandmother actually went to see the very first run of like the Universal monster movies, the original like 1930s Frankenstein, Dracula, the Wolfman that came out in the 40s. Then when my grandmother was in school, she saw the re-releases of those movies because they re-released those in the 50s, and then they added Creature from the Black Lagoon in the 50s.
Hmm.
So like it's been generations, and then my grandmother always watched Dark Shadows, the series.
Yeah.
So I grew up having that on. It was my grandmother to watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre with me when I was like 8 years old. It was on television, so it was like the edited version, but like it's hereditary in my case. The horror is hereditary.
I remember watching Texas Chainsaw 2 in theater, so I'm like,
Mhm.
and I know I fell asleep in the theater because I only remember bits of it, but I do own the movie.
Mhm. That's how I was with Poltergeist. That's the first movie I have conscious memory of going to the movies to see is Poltergeist. And it's funny because I always tell people this that me and the actress that played Carol Ann, Heather O'Rourke, we're
Hmm.
the same age. There's only a 3 month difference between us. So if she was in footy pajamas in the movie, I was in footy pajamas watching the movie at the drive-in. At the drive-in. So it's very interesting. But I remember in that because I was so little, I fell asleep on the movie. So at the time, I remember her getting sucked into the closet, and I remember waking up and
Hmm.
seeing them push the TV outside to the like
The
the deck off
catwalk.
of the
Yeah.
hotel or motel, and then I rewatched it, when I was older when it came out on video. So I also have memory of seeing The Thing at the drive-in. And
Hmm.
I remember when I was first saw it, I remember thinking it was so boring. Oh my god, this movie's so boring because I was a little kid. It wasn't exciting enough for me.
Yeah,
But
that movie was first out the same year that I was born. I'm like,
mhm,
wow.
wow. Do you have another question, Kara?
Um, would you be interested in a review of Alien, team up review of Alien? I'd have to get my research together, but yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And I've been wanting to ask you if you wanted to do another another appearance on this show. I'll
Mhm.
get tongue tied. I'll get the back to you later about that.
Yeah, we'd love to have Marty come through and talk to us. A Harsh Truth says we just reviewed Frankenhooker as well. I love Frankenhooker. Want a date?
Yes.
I
Oh
love
yeah.
Frankenhooker. And the
Got any money? Want
dude
a
was
date?
like, "You need this super crack." The way he was flexing, he was, "You need this super crack."
If such a thing exists, I do not
Mhm.
want to know.
And just so no one thinks that I was holding up crack, I'm holding up this is a knob for a drawer that I need to replace a drawer knob from Home Depot.
I thought it
Because
was
you know the
candy.
internet is. They're like, she was holding up crack on the live stream. No, no, I wasn't. Yes,
Oh,
James Wan and Lee Wanell did Saw together, and then they've since had projects that they've each worked on. Um, James Wan worked on Insidious, also with Lee Wanell. They did that together, but James Wan did Malignant without Lee Wanell, and Lee Wanell did Upgrade without James Wan. So I want them to come back together and work again because I feel like they're better together than they are apart. And I think that's a good place to end.
no, I agree with you. That's a good stopping point.
Hmm. Should we
Alrighty.
tell them what our next show will be about, or you want it to be a surprise?
Um, Let me see. It'll be a ways down the road, but if you want to mention it, feel free to.
Right. Oh, oops! I'm opening up the wrong thing because I put it on my calendar. Because we did a Megan stream, and then we did. Yes, we're supposed to talk about Natalia Grace and in the movie Orphan. Natalia Grace is the young lady, or one of the young ladies that Orphan, the horror movie Orphan, is based on. And there is a documentary about, well, several documentaries, but there's a newer one that just came out about. It's called The Mysterious Case of Natalia Grace. And it's all about them trying to find out whether she truly was an adult or a teenager when she was adopted, or whether she actually was a child. And Natalia Grace herself, the real Natalia Grace, has a form of dwarfism, um, but there's a lot of mystery and intrigue as to what her real age was when she was adopted, and of course, that's what inspired the movie Orphan.
Flop fib, and we know the crack is inside the knob.
That is funny. And Kubrick Lover says, "Sayonara, arigato. Goza imasu. I hope I pronounced the last one right because that's the first time I've seen gozaimasu. Gozaimasu. Or is it gozaimasu? But I'm trying. But I know domo arigato.
Mr. Roboto.
Oh, The Curious Case, not The Mysterious Case. Thank you. I'm sorry. It's The Curious Case of Natalia Grace is the documentary to look up. It's very intriguing. If you get a chance to watch it, do watch it. I am not sure. Let me look it up to see what app it was on because I cannot remember what app I was watching it on. So I'll
I
tell you
think
guys where it's
Tubi
available.
has it. I
Was it
want to say,
Tubi?
I think Tubi has it.
The
I know
Curious.
I remember running across it.
Okay. The Curious Case of Natalia Grace is it's only on Max and then it's available on Prime for $7.99.
Ah,
That's the most recent one. However, that's not the only one. Let me look up there's another one. I think the one that Kara's talking about. I'm gonna put in just Natalia Grace. Natalia Grace. It sounds like someone is listening to some anime in the living room. Documentary. No, that's the only one that's coming up. I know there's one on Tubi. Let me go to Tubi and put in her name because I know what Kara's saying is right because I saw it, but I don't know the name of it.
okay.
So
Yeah,
I'm
that's
gonna go look
probably
at my
the one
Tubi.
that I was thinking we were
Natalia.
talking about.
No, it's not coming up on Tubi. So I guess it's just the one on HBO. However, pro tip: check Daily Motion, and there's another one that sometimes they re-upload to if you don't have. Let me see. I'm gonna put watch Natalia Grace documentary and see what comes up.
I know Solar movies sometimes they have stuff like that up.
Yeah, Solar Movies. Oh, her last name is Bennett. So maybe I have to put in Natalia Grace Bennett. Or is it Bennett or Barnett? Okay. Yeah, that's still giving me Amazon. Discovery Plus is another place they have it. The Curious Case of Natalia Grace.
Hmm.
There are a few documentaries that have been made about her on YouTube by YouTubers, but they don't have the interviews from the families and the people that lived around the families. But if you can watch the one that's called the Curious Case of Natalia Grace, her adoptive father, one of the most interesting people to ever be interviewed. Okay. Yeah, it's a mini series, The Curious Case of Natalia Grace. If I can find another place to find it. Okay, this is where to stream, and it's as of June 23. Yeah, they're selling the episodes $1.99 each. Max. Yeah, it's just Discovery Plus, HBO Max, and Amazon. But I could swear that that wasn't the only documentary. Are they like, did they scrape the internet? Because I know that there were other documentaries besides that one, although that one is really, really good. I could swear there was another one. And then there's also a follow-up. I see Tony Man's reminding me. Don't forget the follow-up called The Curious Case. Natalia comes out soon because they are interviewing her as well. The Curious, because they're going to interview her and ask her what she
Mhm.
thinks her age is. Grace. Natalia Speaks. See if there's a release date on that yet. Okay, I'm on Discovery Channel's page. Because that one just said summer 2023, but it didn't say. Yeah, it's not saying the release date for the second part of the doc. So that's why we're not talking about it until August to see if the second part of the doc comes out. What I can do for you guys is I'm gonna play I'll play a little teensy bit of the trailer. This is so you guys can see it. Natalia Grace. Let me go on my YouTube app and then I'll just hold my phone up. Old school tech.
Old school screen sharing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, put the volume up. Full screen it.
I will pre-warn you, you might not like the truth. We were a very tight-knit family. April 26th, 2010, that's the day that we adopted Natalia. We had no idea what we were dealing with. She's not 6. She was an adult. You can just tell. I'm like, whoa. Natalia was told her new birthday at the orphanage in Ukraine. She stabbed my sons. I definitely didn't feel safe around Natalia. You've adopted a kid and now they're trying to kill you. I mean, it's the stuff of a horror movie. She tried to poison and kill my wife. One night, I opened my eyes and Natalia's standing at the foot of the bed with a knife in her hand. She's tiny. These stories don't make sense. You just don't know. True Barnett's. The prosecutors went to Ukraine. To track down Natalia's biological mother. I'm charged with 2 counts of child neglect. Is that correct? Maybe there's more than one villain in this story. Michael accuses Christine of beating Natalia. My mom is definitely not 100% innocent. Bye-bye. You lied because she told you to lie. Yes.
Got a notification.
Just when you think you have it solved, you find out you don't. We're all abused! What's hurt? It's all gonna come to light. Be very good if you just quit talking. We're in deep, deep trouble. Well, kicking down the stairs, we said we're not going to say, right? Still have my microphone on. Yeah, seatbelt. Buckle up.
Yeah, that was some wild stuff to watch.
They all look like weirdos.
Yes. Like you at first when they're telling the story, you think, "Oh my god, what is Natalia doing?" Because they're telling all these wild things that she did. But then you start learning about the parents, and it's kind of like how in the Tiger King, you go into the documentary and they're talking about the Tiger King and about how his husband had accidentally unalived himself with the gun and how he's abusing these tigers. And then you end up hearing about Carol Baskins. Yeah, with this, you hear about Natalia Grace, but she has her own Carol Baskins. So, anyways, I will find a way for you to watch it, Kara. I'm going to DM you, and we will come back and talk to you guys next month. I think the date that we have, see, I pulled it up and then I closed it again. In August is the 12th. So we'll be back on the 12th to talk about Natalia Grace and Orphan. And with that, I guess we'll wrap it up. Thank everybody in the chat. Let me shout everybody else in the chat because you guys came through. We had a great conversation.
Yeah.
See, Tony Man, Night Watch Zone, Marty from the Trash Picture Show, of course, JJMP, Mystic Mac. Who else? Slipknot fan. Thank you for coming through. Faux Mickey Latte. Thank you for coming through. The Harsh Truth. I will be checking out your channel. Thank you for coming through. Bronson Right Wolf. Thank you for coming through. Krubic Lover 1972. Always. Love when you stop by. Ben Grimm. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's see. Did I miss anybody? Eric Hartman. Thank you so much too for stopping by. And I think that is everybody.
I think so. I'm not seeing anybody. I think that's everyone.
Yep, that's everybody. Thank you guys again.
And it looks like we have. Oh, yeah. Thanks. Take care.
Thank you, Marty. Thank you, JJMP.
Just noticed that Virgo necklace. Very nice. Virgos are quite smart.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay. But yeah, we've been on for going on 3 hours now, so it's a good jumping off point. But as always, it's nice hanging out with you guys. I always enjoy it. Just like a chair in Spanish, silla.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I'll be back next week with Hey Internet Eric, and we are talking about Ramfield.
Mm-hmm.
And do you have any upcoming projects that you wanted to mention?
Well, as you guys know, I'm still working on Cabin in the Woods Film Festival. We are selling tickets right now.
Awesome.
Only buy them from the Cabin in the Woods Film Festival.com, because there is somebody else there trying to sell tickets to our film festival that is not an authorized seller. So if you're not on this website, do not purchase. Go to Cabin in the Woods Film Festival.com. Also, definitely want to congratulate Crystal for pulling it off. This is her first year making a film festival. She is an award-winning horror author, and she's been doing that for years. She's published over 10 books. This is her first film festival, even though she has participated in other film festivals that as a panelist and as a judge. But this is the first film festival that she has created and is running herself. It's an international film festival, so there will be films from around the world, and it's got two different sides to it. There's the in-person film festival, which will take place August 23rd to the 26th in Seattle, Washington, which also features VIP accommodations at actual cabins in the woods. And there's also an online part of the festival. So if you are unable to travel to Seattle, Washington, you can still participate in this film festival virtually. And you will also be able to vote on the films. There will also be intermissions where there are online games with prizes. So definitely check that out. For more information, all the details and specifics about the film festival, go to cabininthewoodsfilmfestival.com. Thank you so much for that. Oh, as for me on my channel, still working through my slasher movies because I just wanted to cheer myself up this summer, and slasher movies cheer me up. So I dubbed my channel Summer of the Slashers. I just finally released a video about Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends, and my theory as to why they went into the direction they went into with both those movies. Coming up soon, I'll have some reviews up for The Blackening. Still trying to figure out whether I'll be able to see the Barbie movie or not because I'm very interested in that. And on my social media, I want you to follow me on there because YouTube is kind of crappy about notifications. So I'm at Horror Freak. That's HORRORFREQ on TikTok, Instagram, what's left of Twitter, and Threads. That also in here, but definitely follow the social media because I post memes, I post little things about my life, I post shorts on those formats too. I'm getting really well acquainted with TikTok, so I'm enjoying it over there. I don't think I almost forgot Hood Podcasts on Mondays. Every Monday I'm on Hood Podcasts with Jay Royama and Chris, and we talk about news of the weird from around the world. So I think that's everything.
Alrighty. Oh, and then Tony just asks really quick, are you doing your Mutant Fam thing with Castle Freak?
Um, we're not doing Castle Freak, but Mutant Fam. When are we coming back? It's actually I think what you're thinking of, you're saying Mutant Fam, but I think you're thinking of Guilty Pleasures Gang, because Mutant Fam is with Joe Bob Briggs, and since last night was the finale of the summer season of The Last Drive-In,
Yeah.
we're kind of done live tweeting Joe Bob Briggs' The Last Drive-In. So the next Guilty Pleasure Gang will be on August 13th, I believe. Yes, August 3rd, Sunday, August 13th, the same weekend that I'm doing the Natalia Grace and Orphan here with Kara. So that weekend is going to be busy. And that Friday, August 11th, I'm going to be on Discord with Rainbow Fright, and we're going to be looking at Castle Freak. That's the video that you're see. I finally deciphered Tony Man's message. He's saying Mutant Fam, but it's not. Well, it is. It is. Mutant Fam is involved in that too. So I misspoke. You are correct, Tony Man. Mutant Fam is involved in the Discord with Rainbow Fright, and we'll be watching Castle Freak on Rainbow Fright's Discord. Stay tuned for details of that. We'll post it on social media as well as the community message board on YouTube. So that weekend is going to be a busy weekend. So Friday night, August 11th, me and Rainbow Fright, we're doing Discord. We're talking about Castle Freak. Saturday, I'll be here with Kara, and we'll be talking about Orphan and Natalia Grace. And then Sunday is going to be Guilty Pleasure Gang. Not sure what movies we're going to be checking out yet, but keep a watch over social media so you know what movies we're going to cover on Guilty Pleasure Gang. And for those who don't know what Guilty Pleasure Gang is, it is a group of us that we kind of torture our friends with movies that we know are bad, but we enjoy them anyways.
Awesome. I like that. Movies we torture our friends with.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good line for it. There you go. And there we go. That is the handle for Lady Sasha. If any of you want to follow her on YouTube, on Twitter, I believe it's the same on Twitter.
Yeah, it's my Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and Threads, all the same handle.
Alrighty. But yeah, I think that's a good jump off point right there. We've been on for quite a while. But as always, thanks for stopping by, and I will talk to you later.
All right.